Good morning, everybody, and welcome to the Unholy Moles channel. I got Duke and Evans here with me, and I found this fucking hilarious. What is it? Like kind of like a Wikipedia page, but what's it called? Conservapedia. Well, anyway, what it is like at first, Duke thought that they were like actual fallacies, but these are like just like fallacies that Christians literally made up. I mean. Here, like I'll read one of them to you. The first one is called "The Fallacy of Exclusion and the Denial that Jesus Existed." See also Historicity of Jesus and Atheists. Fucking forgot to mute me. I can't believe it. I'm a noob, I guess. Anyway, so yeah, these are just—they're not even fallacies. They're just like. There are pretty much their what would you call them? Their arguments against us, or their qualms against our arguments because they can't really fight against it.
Well, so I think this is proof that whoever wrote the article has no idea what a fallacy is.
Yeah, obviously they don't. Yeah, obviously they don't.
A fallacy is just an argument that I don't like, according to this author.
Right. Pretty much, yeah. Like, did you guys see the tweet that Steve McRae tweeted out this morning about, do you think God is just, that Christianity is a just so religion? Do you think it's an ad hoc religion is in, an ad hoc fallacy is, right? Like,
yeah.
Yeah. And I do believe that it is an ad hoc fallacy. Like, oh, you're just not allowing Jesus in your heart, or you're not looking for God. That's why you're not finding him. That's not.
Or you're just in rebellion.
That's an ad hoc argument, isn't it?
It could be construed as one, yes.
I think it kind of is. Or or the Bible. The Bible says it's true, so it's true. That's kind of an ad hoc argument.
I think, and I may be misinterpreting his tweet, but he was more to the effect of like so arguments from evolution, like this is the way that it happened.
I just need to say this one link. I forgot about him.
Yeah, I didn't see the tweet, but that is an interesting idea. The circular reasoning in Christianity is palpable. Like the fallacy is ridiculous. That's true because I say it's true. Like God exists, therefore God exists.
Right. That's why I thought it'd be hilarious for us to read through these fucking so-called fallacies. That's why I kept putting alleged fallacies, because they're just so ridiculous. Like, all it is really just, I don't agree with you, so it's a fallacy. That's it. Essentially what this guy, whoever wrote this, or the people that wrote this are saying. It's common gold, though, for sure. I see that, and I'm like, oh shit, I gotta stream about this. This is hilarious. They're always looking for something different to stream about. I mean, because the same old gets boring. Let's be honest. That's why I try to just have bullshit streams and talk about other stuff too, like like nerdy shit, like comic books and Star Trek and books or whatever. I mean, it doesn't have to be anything specific. It just doesn't. I mean, we're not atheism. An atheist is only a part of what I am. It's not all of what I am.
No, you're not allowed to be anything else.
Nope, you have to be an atheist. All you can do all day is hate God and Jesus and eat babies and promote rape.
Well, I have to believe in God before I can hate him, but
yeah, I know, right?
No, promoting rape is a biblical principle. You got confused there, Duke.
No, but that's the thing, though, Mole, is that we all believe in God, obviously, right? I mean, we don't have a choice.
You just don't know you believe in God.
We just don't know that.
We just understand. That's all.
Let's forget that knowledge is a subset of belief. Just throw that epistemology out the window.
I get a kick out of when people argue about the whole agnostic thing. And technically, isn't everybody an agnostic? Because nobody knows anything for sure. So technically, we're all agnostics. Even Christians. Even theists,
oh boy.
Agnostics. I mean, technically. If you want to be technical about it.
Well, I hit up the Stanford Encyclopedia of Philosophy for the entries on how atheism, theism, and agnosticism is used in philosophy and how it was originally construed.
Well,
What you're referring to is more of a colloquial definition of agnosticism and atheism, and it's kind of a spin that the American atheists, as far as I can tell, attempted to put on it to normalize atheism. And I have no problem with it, but you really have to be clear whenever you're talking about agnosticism, atheism, and theism, whether you're talking about the philosophical definitions as they relate to the rest of philosophy, or whether you're talking about in just kind of general colloquial terms.
Yeah, Evans and I have been down this road.
That's what I was more the colloquial way. I'm just saying that technically agnostic means a lack of knowledge, or you just don't know. So nobody really knows. I mean, so colloquially, everybody's knowing. But I mean, obviously we're not all. I mean, you know what I mean, though. I mean, technically, though.
No, technically, I mean, I'm a hard atheist, but still, at some point or another, I'm also agnostic, because I dismiss the argument for a deist God because it doesn't matter if he exists or not; it makes no difference. And I see absolutely no evidence for any other kind of God, specifically not the gods of like religion. But I still can't claim that I know for a fact that there wasn't a creator or any of that stuff.
Right. Well, it would be intellectually dishonest of me to say. I mean, I would consider myself a hard atheist as well. But I mean, there's always that chance. I mean, I don't believe that if there is a God. I mean, my agnosticism goes about this far. If there is a God, it definitely isn't the Christian God. It definitely isn't. I know that for a fact.
Yeah, in a nutshell, I'd have to say I'm an agnostic, but I'm hard atheist when it comes to the Abrahamic religions, soft atheist when it comes to the other religions, and agnostic in general, just simply because, you know, I don't know. But the Christian God, no.
Well, he's logically impossible.
Yeah, I plan on doing a video in the near future, trying to delineate some of these points, because there's a lot of talk past that goes on whenever you're talking about beliefs, knowledge, theism, atheism, agnosticism. Some people use the philosophical definition, some people use the more colloquial definitions, and a lot gets lost in translation whenever you're trying to have these discussions.
Right.
Anyways, hey, SA and Crimson.
Greetings and salutations.
Yeah, how are you this morning, Crimson? You demon bastard, you.
Y'all need Satan.
Well, Ave Satanas. I am currently on my third 10-ounce serving of vodka with 2 ounces of lemonade because I made the mistake of engaging a moron on Twitter before the stream started.
Yeah, I seen you arguing.
I'm doing goofy.
Yeah, I seen you arguing this morning.
I didn't see that. I was actually thinking about tagging you in a conversation I was in. Actually, tagging all y'all in the conversation I was in with Michelle this morning because it was interesting. And it's always fun. Like, I spend so much time fighting with like Catholics and people that actually try to bring some measure of logical argument against you, and it's fun to get in there with the Baptists every once in a while and knock their Bible around.
Yeah, you guys should tag me in all that shit. I can only live vicariously through you guys for the next week.
All right, who did I not send a link of the site we're looking at to? I didn't send one to you, did I? Squircifer? I didn't send you one, did I? Okay.
No, send me the link.
I will. So you can know what we're looking at. I'll send one to Red too. You guys know Red Venture?
Oh, it is an enjoyable little site. Literally, I was reading this thing last night at work.
It's hilarious.
Laughing my ass off.
Yeah, I was like, oh my God, I got to stream about this. This is just kind of, they're not even fallacies. I mean, they're just, oh my God, it's so ridiculous. So ridiculous. It's funny stuff.
Yeah, once I get the link, I'll click it.
Oh, I'm sending it right now.
Yeah,
send it right now, brother. Yeah, send it right now. All right. I'm pretty sure everybody's got one now.
Yep.
Yeah, I'm about to open it back up myself.
And I just need to point out before we really get into this that the site is named the Conservative Wiki. Conservative Wiki.
Yeah,
However
yeah.
the fuck they want to say that.
Conservapedia. Yeah, Conservapedia.
Yeah.
That's what it's called.
Yep.
And its proprietor looks like a cheap Will Ferrell.
Hey, it does kind of, doesn't it? I think you noticed
Yeah.
that before.
It's pretty bad whenever you look cheaper than Will Ferrell.
Like from what was that, Step Brothers?
Yeah.
Mm.
Why did look at the Jesus on the cross? He's got fucking abs and shit. Looks like he's been working out.
Yeah, I know, right? He's got his little sexy swerve on.
Sexy white Jesus.
Yeah.
He's got that bundle really covered with stuffing.
You know what? I still like jacked Jesus better. Have you guys seen that crucified Jesus in Japan?
Yeah,
Thing looks like
Mhm.
Arnold Schwarzenegger.
Oh
Yeah.
yeah, the one where like you drove first blood, but I'll be back.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, no way he was staying on that
That thing
cross.
is fucking amazing.
Well, let's be fair. Let's be fair. He was a carpenter in like the 1st century, so he probably would have been a pretty burly dude. You know what I mean?
Well, and you got to remember that carpenter back then would technically probably been a stonemason. Not, I mean, there wasn't a whole lot of wood in the Levant. I mean, Jerusalem isn't exactly known for its abundance of trees.
Get out of here with your facts, mole.
So,
True, but then you have to take into account the amount of protein they have available for intake and building that level of muscle. He was probably a string bean that could snap you in half, but still skinny as hell.
This is deeper than I've ever thought about Jesus' carpentry ship. Appreciate that, guys.
I know, right?
Kind of gives Jesus got wood a new meaning, huh?
Right. So I'm a mythicist myself. I'm not even sure if Jesus even existed. Even I think he's symbolic of the I'm kind of the Richard Carrier school of thought. Like I kind of like the way he thinks, like how Jesus was symbolic of the temple, and have you guys read any Richard Carrier?
It's on my bucket list. I'm right now working my way through Enlightenment Now by Steven Pinker, and then the next book I'm going to be listening to is on the historicity of Jesus. But it's like 28 hours long, so I put it off.
I've got almost all of Carrier's books. In fact, I'm taking one of his courses now with the Atheistics now. Hello, Shells. She's out there in the chat world. We're both taking the same class. It's interesting. I'm a staunch mythicist. The fucker never existed.
Yeah, that's cool. John and Casey got me an autographed copy from Richard, so that was really nice of them. That was really nice. So, hey, Conquering Thought, how are you, buddy? I see a whole lot of new people in the chat. Welcome, everybody. Glad to see you guys here. So, I guess we could talk about this site a little bit, since we haven't really talked about it at all. Okay.
Well, before we hit it, we were just talking about Jesus and his existence, and I know this is going to come up in the site, but does anyone not want to address the fact that the letter J did not exist till around the 16th century, invented in France?
Yeshua. His name would have been Yeshua.
Yeah, I mean, if we can't even call this person by the right name, how do we even know they're talking about the correct person?
Yeah.
Well, the thing is, the name Jesus seems to be like very, like not. It seems to be like a not common name, whereas his actual name Yeshua would have been an extremely common name. You know what I mean? It was one of the major prophets of the religion, one of the major, like General Joshua. You know what I mean? Like, so
yeah.
It'd be like the prophet Joe. You know what I mean?
I'm sorry, I gotta stop. In the comments, Rise to Raise this is hilarious. He put Dost thou even lift, brethren? For thou shalt never skip the day of legs. Oh, Jesus. You definitely win comment of the day, Rise to Raise.
Hell yeah.
You get a wrench for that one, dude. That's awesome. I would love you to sub to my channel.
Rise is a great person. Tag him in on any conversation you have where you just really want some interesting points with atheist.
I see Avatar of Nashu. Is that, I hope I pronounced that right. He says, I've been an atheist all my life, but I've never read any books on it. I've got no clue where to start. And I asked him if he has you do have a Twitter. I'll send you a friend, or I'll follow you, and you can talk to all of us anytime you want, dude. I'm sure that we could all give you plenty of advice on like books you might want to read. I mean, there's tons of books you could read. There's like
everything Sam Harris ever wrote.
Yeah.
Start
like
there.
Ever wrote
things like Religion Poisons Everything by
Hitchens.
Oh my God, I'm fucking just woke up. Yeah, Hitchens, and then there's The God Delusion by Dawkins. Richard Carey's got he's got 4 or 5 different books, I believe.
Dan Barker.
I've actually got the
Dan Barker.
Yeah, I've actually got the conclusion to God is not great, mostly committed to memory.
Really? I'm reading a book right now called Disbelief 101. It's kind of like a young adult's entry level book to atheism, and I think I might do a series on my channel about that, like a couple chapters at a time. It's for young adult atheists that aren't really sure, that are new to atheism, or new atheists, to just give them something to think about. It's got some really good got some really interesting stuff in it. It's a pretty good book. And it's fairly short, so it won't take a whole long time. I think it's only like 110 or 115 pages, something like that.
What's up, Red?
What's up? Oh.
I know wrenches are useless, Avatar. I just I like it's kind of like the teachers gave smiley faces out, but that's my smiley face for you, here's your gold star,
making
buddy.
us feel special.
Yeah, it's your gold star for the day. That's what it is.
I have no idea how to use the wrench at all, but I love it when I get one. I was like, holy crap.
Yeah. I'm a mod on so many channels, it's not even funny. I'm like, wow, geez. I mean, yeah. I tend to not I try not to restrict speech too much. I don't like restricting anybody's speech, even if they're trolls. But sometimes people do go too far, and fucking
definitely.
They're just plain nasty, that you don't need to be like that.
Well, I'm a mod in one of the largest Hearthstone channels on YouTube on Twitch, with an average viewer basis of 14,000, and I'm loath to mute someone, but I'll fucking ban them in a heartbeat.
It's interesting to me. It all boils down to whether or not they're disrupting the conversation. Like if there's a conversation going on in the chat, people are talking about what we're talking about, and somebody's in there just derailing it constantly, it seems unfair to the rest of the group to leave them in there. But I don't know. It's 6 one way, half a dozen the other, I guess.
Right.
I usually don't mess with anybody unless they're pointedly racist, or they post these conglomerated text pics that has dicks in them, these really large pixel things that you copy and paste.
Oh, I hate that.
I'm the same way. If you're blatantly racist or you spam the chat, that's the only way that I would probably, ban you. I don't see any point in that. I mean, like we were talking yesterday, my grandfather was a German soldier in World War II. So I don't take too kindly to the whole Nazi thing. Not all Germans were fucking Nazis. And if they were, it was Nazis started out as a political party. It's the fucking leaders of that political party that took the ideology too far and fucking turned it into a Holocaust, you know. So I mean, you can't hate all Germans for. I mean, people are sheep, dude. They tend to follow. Let's be honest. You know?
Oh, I can hate all Germans.
Oh yeah, you live there, Dave, don't you? You must not. You live there.
I was in Nuremberg yesterday and went downtown. One of my rare trips out, and these Germans, I don't know if they were Germans or settled Germans or whatnot, but they had their little tent set up and they were talking about Jesus and they were handing out their little Jesus things and blah, blah, blah. And they came up and they gave me one and I'm like, oh, this is so cool. Thank you oh so much. And they're like, oh, you speak English. And are you a Christian? And I'm like, nope, I'm a Satanist. Your God sucks. Have a nice day.
Avatar of Nashi was in the chat, said he's never met, he don't know a single person who likes Nazism. I, as a rule, don't know either. But yesterday I was in a stream, and my friend the Mad Libertarian channel, and the stream was supposed to be about conspiracy. So don't ask me how fucking they started talking about the ethno state. But this guy was like, he was. White culture's fucking getting erased, and fucking I believe in white nationalism, and I'm like, whoa, bro. I'm like, first of all, white culture is I mean, white people do have culture, but it's a regional thing, you know. It's like, I mean, just because I mean, like someone from France is not going to act the same as someone from America. Yeah, we're both white. The only similarities is Christianity, and we're both white. But other than that, our cultures are so different, it isn't funny. So, how is white culture being erased now?
That could be applied even to American white culture. You know, like somebody from Florida or Alabama or Georgia is not going to have the same culture as somebody from Pennsylvania. Right. It's just
yeah. I mean, I moved from California to Georgia, and if you don't think there was culture in that move, oh man.
Yeah.
Well, you know what I miss? It's not so much that I miss my white culture. I really miss my white privilege.
I take advantage of mine every day.
I'm looking for it.
Yeah, I'm not a real big believer in that whole white privilege thing, because I've been pulled over by police and been treated just as badly as a black man would. So I don't buy that whole white privilege thing.
Yeah,
cops treat you like a criminal if you look like a criminal and you act suspicious. You know what I mean? That's what it boils down to.
Yeah. Show me where I can cash in my white privilege, and then I'll believe it exists. And hey, Red.
Hey.
Can
you hear me?
I did send you a link to the website we're going to be looking at too, Red, by the way.
Yep, the Conservapedia one.
Yeah, it's common gold, dude.
It's fucking gold. So has this been confirmed or not that that's been overrun by trolls? That's why it's so comedy gold?
Oh, I don't know, but it's common gold regardless. Even if they are posed, it's at least funny to look at. I mean, but I wouldn't be. It isn't that far fetched to believe that Christians would believe this shit. It's really
not that far fetched. Say shit like this.
I've run into most of these arguments. So
yeah, they really do.
If it was overrun by trolls, they're extremely skilled.
Check out the source code, and you can find out who actually does it, and then you can figure out if they're trolling or not.
That seems like too much work.
It's just so far-fetched.
Well, yeah, you haven't met some of the trolls online. There's never a thing as too much work to troll.
Well, you know how many people? You know how many people like I've seen argue with Caplock, and they're like, they think he's a real Christian.
Oh God! That is gold.
I'm like, you can't tell that's a parody account. I'm like, come on, dude, really?
Did you guys see the tweet I did where I tweeted him out and I was like, let me introduce you to Caps Lock. He's a satire account. If you're making atheist arguments to him, some of us are laughing at you.
Right.
Yeah, I remember reading that.
And in that very thread, people argued with him.
Yeah,
Of course I
mean, like he's obviously a parody account. I mean, come on. Like you were saying, dude. Fucking, there's stupid people in every camp, man. I mean, not all atheists are fucking brilliant. Not all Christians are brilliant. Not most people are brilliant, to be honest with you.
Dude, one person actually, and I mean, I'm not talking trash about this person because she's an absolute sweetheart, but one person actually asked if I was secretly caps lock.
Kind of like Snags is with that.
Yeah, she was like, "Are you? Is caps lock Duke Bonanza?" I was like, "No, not even a little bit."
Doesn't caps lock use his own image, his own picture and stuff?
I want to see a stream between Caps Lock and Emmett. That would be fucking hilarious, and make them play in character.
I wanted to see if I was thinking about asking Stags if he wanted to do a stream between Emmett and Cletus T. Beauregard, my redneck.
You got one? I got one too. That's funny.
Yeah. Look at here. I ain't going to do nothing all day but hate on homosexuals and read the Bible. That's what I'm going to do.
Beans and biscuits.
I could have called this stream the bearded stream. Everybody here fucking is a bearded man. Did your beard grow back yet? After your accident?
I've got part of it back now. It's nowhere near where it was. Pro tip to everyone in the chat: beards are flammable. Don't let flame get near it.
They are indeed flammable.
Preach it.
Can confirm, as someone who has caught my beard on fire before.
I have myself too a few times.
Does anybody else have those spots in their beards where everything else grows like a lush, beautiful jungle, and then you've got this scanty, vacant, fucking dilapidated house on your left cheek?
No, my chin grows in horns, like on the sides of my chin, it grows wonderfully. But right in the middle, it's just like a fucking like a clearing in the forest almost. Like so, the tip of my beard was like two horns almost, like coming off of my chin.
So you got a Joe Dierte beard?
Yeah, I guess. I don't know.
Yeah, I got more of the Joe Dierte stuff if I let my face grow out. I got so many spots on my face that the hair just doesn't grow.
So fortunately for me, that's not an issue.
Don't French that shit up. It's Joe Dirt. Don't French it up.
Well, I leave my goatee now because the sides of my beard, like when I grow a full beard out, I look old as fuck, dude. Like my shit is gray as hell, dude. Like even my goatee's starting to go gray now. But
yeah, I got a shot of gray in the left part of my goatee is pure fucking gray no matter what I do.
My brother had a skunk stripe. I was like hoping that mine would go like that, but it didn't. That was weird.
I don't acknowledge any gray anywhere in my beard or hair, so I don't know what you're talking about.
I'm only 41, but I've lived like a rock star, so it probably aged me a little faster.
Yeah, I'm with you. I'm with you on that one, Mo. I've led a strange life.
But oddly enough, though, like people I went to high school with, I see them, they like got crow's feet and wrinkles and shit. They look horrible. And like I fucking literally have lived like a rock star. I mean, I'm a recovered heroin addict. I used to like eat out of dumpsters and shit. So I mean, I don't know. Understand? Maybe it's genetics because they look old as fuck, dude. I know they didn't live like I did.
I'm gonna have to kick back on Crimson here, especially with his denial of gray hair. Are you committing the fallacy of exclusion and denial that your gray hair exists?
Yeah.
Yes, I am.
You know, you should embrace the gray because then you can tell chicks, look, I've survived long enough that I've got gray in my hair. I can provide you foods. Give it up now.
Actually, I know that a lot of women actually do prefer mature men. You know, I mean, because
I've run into a lot of ladies in their late 20s, early 30s who are just like they would much prefer to date an older guy than somebody in their same age group.
Right. Yeah. I mean,
it worked out fabulously for me.
I don't think I would date anybody younger than 30 just because of the age gap. I mean, like there would be too big of an age, like just a cultural gap. You know, I mean, we think totally different.
No. Go grab yourself a 22-year-old for 5 minutes and have fun.
I haven't. I ended up in jail.
Whatever the legal age limit is in whatever state that I happen to be in, that's my limit.
I should have known when her mother said, "Hey, don't date my daughter. She will break your fucking heart or ruin your life." Like that, I should have took that a little more seriously than I did.
Funny, my ex-wife's mother said that to me. Oh, not exactly, but she said, "You'll regret getting involved with my daughter." And sure shitting enough.
Yeah,
my ex-wife mother said, "Run."
Casey's oldest son turns 27 Tuesday, huh? Well, happy birthday. Yeah, that makes me feel old. Like, I have friends that, I mean, in my head, I'm still in my 20s, and then I go and see my friends, and their kids are like college age. I'm like, what the fuck happened? I mean, where did time go, you know? What happened? Yeah. I'm an old man now. I remember when they were running around fucking in diapers, and now they fucking have a house payment. Yeah. I'm like, what happened?
Definitely.
We blinked.
Yeah, it's horrible. I remember.
We sound like a bunch of old men here. Let's get to the website.
Yeah. Okay. All right. Let's start. The first one is the fallacy of exclusion and the denial that Jesus existed. See, what this is the classic use of exclusion fallacy committed by is denial that Jesus Christ ever existed. Despite there being an abundance of historical evidence for Jesus Christ living in the first century, many atheists embarrassingly claim that Jesus never existed. Well, I'd like to know what this historical evidence is.
Well, there were 500 witnesses, dude. There was 500 witnesses. Just ask SJ anytime you want. She'll tell you. Yeah. Like all these people that saw that.
I have had people link me to copies of supposed Roman tax records that never say Jesus, never say Yeshua.
That was a common name. It's a common name. That's what I don't. It's like Joseph. It's like the Joseph of the Israel world.
I think the only actual historical, I say that loosely, record that actually says Jesus by name, as in Jesus, dude's brother killed on a cross for faggotry, is the Josephus interpolation. Anything else either refers to religious title like Christus or Christians.
And then there's
person that ever says that
also, but that's
he doesn't say Jesus.
No, he doesn't mention him by name either. Yeah.
The Josephus thing has also been debunked as having been monkeyed with, hasn't it? Like somebody in a later.
Well, yeah, that's the Testimonium Flavianum is.
Well, is it?
Yeah, the one part.
But the other part has existed for a while because Origen brings it up in the early 2nd century. So
there's two inferences. There's
Jesus,
one where
the so-called Christ part was probably in. Well, no, that the Testimonium would have been. Because
there's five different Jesuses mentioned in Josephus's works, and of the five, the one that Christians jump for joy over is a six paragraph that breaks his narrative that says Jesus is the Messiah. The other reference to Jesus, the brother of James, that one's been there for a while, but the one where he says he did great things, he was a wise man.
The Testimonium, the Testimonium was probably
that's the
Eusebius. Probably done by Eusebius.
And the whole points of their arguments of the historicity of Jesus actually being real is the fulfillment of prophecies. But, one prophecy they never want to bring up, but I love bringing up, is that the Messiah will enter this specific city on a Wednesday at sunrise on a donkey.
Yeah, that's impossible. That's impossible to recreate. There's no way that anybody other than God could make that fucking happen, right?
Had to be God.
Yeah. Oh, but it's okay. They were a little more specific from the West Gate. So, I'm willing to bet every fucking Wednesday since that prophecy was given, some asshole around sunrise came in with a donkey.
Right.
I'm actually going to have to jump out of here. Y'all just reconverted me. So,
well, if if they really read their Bible, they came in through the gate on 2 donkeys.
Ah, yes, good point.
I mean, the Jesus wasn't the only Messiah figure running around Jerusalem at that time either. There was many people claiming to be the Messiah. You got to think it was a tumultuous time. I mean, they were occupied by the Romans. They were trying to win back their freedom. So I mean, they were looking for any sliver of. I mean, it was like the Hunger Games in real life. Like they were looking for a Katniss. They were looking for someone to save them.
Who was the character that Hitchens brought up? Who was the guy that Hitchens brought up in God Is Not Great that came along after Jesus and was claiming, and all these people claimed he did all these great things? And so,
Sai Baba.
No, it's not Sai Baba. This happened during the once the Muslims had taken over, and so the Caliphate put him in front of them and said, "Okay, we'll give you 2 choices. You can convert to Islam and become an imam or whatever, or we'll shoot these arrows at you, and if you can really do what you say, you'll just deflect the arrows off." And the guy obviously said, "I'll just convert, thanks," and ended up living out the rest of his life in Turkey or something like that as a Muslim clerical. But even then, like from what Hitchens said, even then, like some people still worshipped him, and some people said he didn't. He deflected the arrows, and some people say he rose up into the sky and all this kind of stuff.
Right.
I can't remember the name of them.
And Jesus wasn't the only personal savior God at that time. There were I can't remember the names of them, but there were at least 4 or 5 others that have almost identical stories, like the whole death and resurrection thing.
Oh yeah. There was one directly before Jesus. I forget the name, but he was from Aramea, something of Aramea, that did the exact same things. Just one generation before.
And a lot of the Pentateuch was lifted from even older Babylonian and Assyrian texts. Like if you look at the old Hammurabi texts, a lot of that stuff is the eye for an eye, tooth for a tooth. A lot of that stuff because Jewish clerics were back then how they'd trade people they would send them emissaries as a goodwill gesture or whatever. So there were Jewish clerics living with these kings that learned about their gods and learned about their traditions, and they incorporated them into their own story. I mean, from what I gather, I wasn't there obviously, so I can't know for sure.
So the thing that bothers me about this whole article here is because obviously they're hinting at a fallacy of exclusion, which would be to exclude evidence that may otherwise change the outcome of the argument. But that's not what any reputable mythicist does. They tackle the evidence.
Right.
That's
what we're all about is the evidence.
I think that you can make a good case against them positions because of the use of Bayesian inference. Because how do you determine your priors? And I haven't actually read Carrier's book. It's coming up rapidly on my list.
It's not very convincing for using Bayesian. I mean, he's got a good point about our historical standards and how we determine stuff. But yeah,
the Bayesian inference, just from what I've watched talks on it and seen debates about it and things like that, that's the first red flag. And so if I were a theist attempting to defeat the mythicist position, that would be the first thing that I'd go after, is say, how in the world do you determine your priors on historical things like this? Because you're going to have to just snatch a number, and you can snatch any number and come out with any outcome, which is kind of Bayes' theorem in general. And so, but the problem is it's not a fallacy of exclusion. Carrier, from what I understand, tackles each and every piece of evidence, historical evidence that there is. If you wanted to pin him down on something that actually had any meaning, then you'd go after the use of Bayes' theorem and general scholarship, So, right. They're accusing somebody of a logical fallacy, and the fallacy exists, but it's not the fallacy that anybody's committing, it goes to show how poorly they actually research their opponents whenever coming about this, you know, because it's not like the mythicists are dismissing a bunch of evidence.
Yeah, that's one thing I've noticed, and it's disturbed me greatly. We come to them, and we have studied their points, their positions. We know where they're coming from, but they have absolutely no idea of our points, our positions. They have been summarily dismissed and excluded from their thought train at all.
Yeah, and it's one of those things. I'm not a mythicist. I don't really take a position on the issue as whether or not Jesus, the first century Jewish carpenter, existed. Doesn't really change my position on the things that he supposedly did.
Yeah,
and more than likely, I'm more of a legendist, if that's a word, where he was probably a post-apocalyptic Jewish preacher. It was probably more than one Yeshua running around proclaiming the end of the world and dissenting and getting crucified. And, you know, there was an amalgamation and a sort of a legendary status that got attached to him. You know, King Arthur may have existed. He certainly didn't wield Excalibur from the Lady of the Lake, you know.
Right. He was built up into, you know, he was built up to bigger than human standards. I mean, they probably took a normal guy.
The expanded legend.
Yeah, he got deified, so to speak. You know, I mean,
I mean,
my basic thing is when it comes to being a mythicist or not, it really depends on who I'm talking to and of whether or not that I like them or not. And if I really don't like them, then I'm a hardcore mythicist and I can pretty much back my shit up. And if I sort of kind of like them, I'll be like, yeah, you know, it's entirely possible Jesus existed, but him being God or whatnot, that's just not in the cards. Sorry.
Yeah.
It just really depends on who I'm talking to, basically.
I mean, I will give them that a man named Yeshua existed and is referred to as Jesus in the Bible. I will give them that. But it still doesn't prove anything. Yes, you have a man. Okay, I guarantee you there was a man in the time where you say this particular book was written that was named Joseph, Matthew. These people, I'm sure there were people with these names, but this still doesn't prove your point.
Right. Oh, I want to shout out Mr. Avatar of Nashu. His Twitter is let me see what it is. But he doesn't have very many followers yet. Let's follow. Let's follow this fella. His @ is
follow the avatar.
Dun, 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 dun.
Already
My
done.
Computer's running slow as shit. Okay, good. But anyway, it's
shit. I'm in Twitter jail.
Oh yeah, I forgot. It's
you know what?
White.
Follow the avatar. He has a YouTube channel. He's got a couple videos on there. Great quality, good audio, way better than my one video. Check the guy out. He's awesome.
I most certainly will, and I'd love to have him on sometime if he'd like to come on. You know, I'd like to interview him.
Hey, can you guys hear me all right?
Yeah.
Yeah,
cool. I had to change out my headset. My headset was dying, so I had to borrow a pair of headphones.
Oh.
God was like, I don't like this Duke Bonanza guy being on this stream, so I'm gonna smite his headset.
Smite his headset.
Better.
He works in mysterious ways.
The almighty smiter of smitings.
All right, I found him on the YouTube, so I just subbed.
Yep, I'm subbing right now. Ooh, I'm lucky number 13. All right. Woo.
What's this guy's name?
Oh,
he's in the chat?
Avatar of Nashu, yeah.
Got him.
But the other day, you guys know Bible flock boxes, right?
Oh yeah.
Yes.
Okay, I was watching one of his videos the other day, and I just happened to be 666 viewer of that video, so I had to comment on the video. I'm like, woohoo, number 666, and he actually typed back and told me, "You don't need to gloat. We know you're a member of the Illuminati," or some shit like that. I'm like, what?
Oh, that's great. That's fantastic.
Has the ominous they seen that yet?
No, I'm a member of the Illuminati.
You
That's
can't get any
hilarious.
better than that. You know you have arrived.
I want to know where my fucking shield check is from NASA too.
Yeah.
Yeah. That. What was the newest iteration of that? What was the newest? He changed it from the atheist to the skeptic mafia to something else. The atheist collective, something like that.
Who's that?
Why can't we ever be a Borg hive mind?
I always joke that Gauss Engineer is the godfather, and we're all his little soldiers of the skeptic mafia.
Capos.
Yeah.
Straight
John,
up.
What'd you just call me?
John is a great you've ever had a chance to talk to him, he is a wonderful. Him and Casey are wonderful people.
Well, I mean, they are from Alabama, so
I'm shutting up.
Hey, that's fine. You can't. You're entitled to your opinion. You know, this is America. Well, it is
America.
Well, he's in Germany.
Yeah, he's still American.
He can't have an opinion.
You ask Crimson, he'll tell you.
You don't like Godless Engineer, Crimson?
Oh,
It's all right. You can speak.
I'm sure he's a wonderful person. I'm sure he's a wonderful person. And Lord knows he has an awesome O-face. I have it saved to my phone. He just annoys the ever-loving piss fuck out of me. I don't know what it is.
There's something about him.
Well,
yeah.
To put it bluntly, how can I best describe this?
You're gonna roll it bluntly, all right.
If he was to be in a short bus that fell over a cliff on fire, smash into a fucking church full of Jerry's kids that are on life support system because they're all diabetics and perish, I would not fucking bat or blink an eye.
Isn't that a glorious?
That's not very nice, man. There's nothing wrong with John.
Nice.
John and Casey are really cool people, dude.
It's pretty fucked up.
I don't know. I mean, perhaps they've like you've had some kind of conflict with them that makes you feel this way. But I mean, like I've never like I just think they're great people. I think
I do too.
Might be, but when he calls me, look. I sacrificed a whole hell of a lot for the United States of America. And if that cunt wants to call me a fascist, then that cunt can stay in Alabama or wherever hell that cunt is, and he can just be fucking happy and know that I didn't fight an ounce for his fucking freedom.
I don't have any context.
Now that scroll through it out there. Now that scroll through it out there, I have to point out.
Fascist?
Well, Squirrel served for the military.
I love
he served for our country. He fought for our freedom. Him and Engineer went back and forth. At first, it was polite about a particular point about military service, military itself, and personal freedoms and exclusions and whatnot. And it escalated very quickly. I will throw out Squirrel did not escalate this one, which was surprising to me.
I am shocking. That is.
Yeah. Engineer, like I said, I'm sure he's a wonderful person. He just annoys me personally. I don't know what it is.
That brings up a point I'd like to make. That's why I try when I talk to like our atheist group of friends, I try to keep the topics either about atheism, religion, or just mundane stuff. That's why I never bring my political leanings into it. You've never heard me talk politics, really, have you? Because I don't want to sour friendships with people over stuff that gets blown out of proportion. I mean, I have a lot of respect for you, Squirrel. Mucho respect. My father's a 25-year veteran, so I'm not taking anything away from you, sir, and I appreciate it.
Same here, but at the same time, it's just one of those things where if you're on a stream and this kind of thing comes up, man, it kind of drags everybody else down into it. You know what I mean? It's
I don't agree with their political leanings, but I mean, other than that, I mean, like, you know, people are gonna believe what they're gonna believe, you know. So, I mean, it's fucked up.
You know, like I said,
but
I can't say anything because I've never had much personal interaction. The only times that I've actually interacted with them, a couple of things were pushed back, which was handled civilly from my perspective, and then a few things we've agreed on. So I can't really draw a conclusion. In my personal experience, he's been a pretty cool dude, him and Casey.
Yes. Yeah. Well, like I've said, you know, I'm sure he's a cool person. My only personal interaction with him was that thread with Squirrel. We started talking, and then Squirrel came in, and that thing happened. And, you know, that's only one interaction. It's a political view. I'm sure he's a wonderful person, but just, I don't know, something about him always, like, just, he just annoys me. We all have those people we're just
that's fine.
with.
Everybody's entitled to their own opinions, you know. I'm just saying that I don't like to, you know, I just don't like to bring politics into anything because it sours everything. Dude. Fucking politics is so tumultuous at this point in time that it's not something I want to talk about. I mean, it's everywhere I look. I'm tired of hearing about it. I'm fucking sick to death of hearing about it.
I never talk politics because I absolutely hate politics. I do kind of have issue with being called a fascist or a racist.
I don't blame you.
And you know, and once you pull that trigger and ring that bell, then I'm all for, hey, fuck you, I'll burn everything to the ground and not look back because you know I know what the fuck I did. So,
well, can I push back a little bit on this just for a second, man? No, there's not really. Yeah. I get it. You guys have had this conflict and all that, but the thing that gets me is bringing this kind of thing up when that person's not here. You know what I'm saying? So like we're all talking about this. They're not here to defend themselves or say, hey, what I meant was this, or maybe this, or whatever, right? And this is going out public live to everybody. Anybody can see it. So if they come along and see this, then it implicates everybody in the stream to some degree or another. You know what I'm saying? Because I'm friends with them. So the argument could be, why didn't you defend me more here? And it's like, I don't want to get caught up in that. I love them both. I think they're great people. And so,
completely.
Yeah, I agree completely with Duke on this one.
Straight up disclaimer. Yeah, what Duke says is, sorry, Red. Spot on. My opinions and my thoughts are my own, and I do not expect anyone to agree, share, listen, or accept anything that I say. And should eventually somebody come along, or the person themselves ever come along, I will not have an issue saying this straight up to them exactly like I said it to you guys. I don't hide a single thing I say to anybody for any reason because the only person that I even fear on this earth has been dead for 10, 15 years. So I don't want to implicate you guys, but I won't keep my mouth shut either.
Fair enough. You're entitled to, like we said, you're entitled to your opinion, but let's stop it where it is because
we got some great logical fallacies to get to.
We've got far afield. Shall we get back to the issue?
Yes, because this is becoming a downer. Okay. All right. The next one would be unreasonable and inconsistent evidential standards. Atheism, as defined by the Stanford Encyclopedia of Philosophy, by the Routledge Encyclopedia of Philosophy and other philosophy reference works, is the denial of God. See also definition of atheism, definitions of atheist and agnostic, and attempts to dilute the definition of atheism. How are we trying to dilute the definition of atheism? I would like to know that.
Okay.
They're the ones that are diluting.
Unpopular opinion here.
The philosophical point.
Yeah.
They're coming from the philosophical point that atheism is a hard, positive stance on a negative statement. And now we are using it as the simple, I lack belief in any gods presented to me.
Yes.
Right. Well, I don't think either of those stances are necessarily unreasonable stances to take. But, I mean, it's not the stance I take, but I don't think that if someone says, I simply don't believe due to a lack of evidence, I don't know. It seems like a weak position to me, but it's not. I don't think it's necessarily a wrong position.
Well,
I mean,
go
based
ahead.
on lack of evidence is enough to reject the claim. It's not enough to go to the other end, So there's not enough evidence for Christianity or any other theism. You can reject that and be a non-theist, philosophically, and then what you decide on the position afterwards has its own burden of proof. But I mean,
Yep.
Right. Okay,
It's two separate issues.
As it goes on, it says atheists demand proof of evidence for other worldviews, yet there's no proof and evidence that atheism is true.
Let's stop there with the worldview. That is such a garbage.
I know, totally.
I'm going to refrain from ranting.
I want to know how
atheism is not a worldview.
Rant away.
Yeah, throw it out there, Evans. Your rants are amazing.
So look, this is the problem: is atheism in general, even philosophical, whenever you get down to it, is not a worldview. It is a position on a singular topic that could be part of a grander worldview. Atheism has no connotations for it. It simply surrounds the existence of a God. And this is speaking strictly because I'm a philosophical atheist. So, or a hard atheist, if you will.
Yeah.
But whenever they throw out, well, the atheistic worldview is the most ignorant statement that a theist can possibly make, because they automatically assume that you believe in evolution. They automatically assume that you believe in the Big Bang and all these things that jurist and everything else. It falls under the atheist moniker. And the problem
and you're a Democrat and a Marxist.
Yeah, and a Democrat and a Marxist and everything else. And the problem is that atheism is not a worldview. Theism is not a worldview. That's not what that word means. But
it's a view on one thing.
It's a view on a singular topic. It doesn't even deal with the spiritual.
A single data point.
Yeah, you could believe in ghosts and be an atheist. This is what blows my mind.
Yeah, but when they want
to come at me about my worldview,
they're basically what they're doing is they're saying, I know I can't prove my position, so let me set up a position that you can't prove, and you defend it, and then I'll sit back and relax and still believe in God. It's basically what it's doing.
Well, that's the thing, and that's what I'm like. It would take me like 40 hours to explain my worldview, to go through point by point what I believe to be true about the world.
Me too, and it would piss off a lot of atheists.
Absolutely.
I think there's a lot of atheists who would ardently disagree with me on great numbers of things.
And so whenever they make statements like this, atheists demand proof and evidence for other worldviews. That's not the case.
No.
All I demand proof and evidence for is the belief in God that you hold.
Exactly.
Yeah,
and from an atheist position, yes.
Yeah, well, so what do you think where they say yet there's no proof and evidence that atheism is true? Also, despite the abundant evidence for Christianity, do you think that there's no proof? Do you think we even need proof?
Oh, Jesus Christ!
So
yeah, absolutely. So
that hurts my brain.
Okay, so if you make a positive claim, such as I do, that I believe in the existence of any gods, you do have a burden of proof.
There is no God.
Positive, negative.
You do have a burden of proof to justify that belief. Now, that's totally different from having to demonstrably prove that to be factually true. But you do, in some sense, have a burden of proof for that belief to be justified.
You have to be able to explain why you believe the thing that you believe within a logical standpoint. Like you have to actually be able to say, this is why I believe there is no God, and then lay it out.
But in specifics to
your burden of proof is limited to either an argument of absence. You can present a factual list of absence of their God, or an argument of impossibility.
Yeah.
Which they give you their God definition, and you can prove its logical impossibility to exist.
Yeah.
That is the negative statement.
Yeah, and so the thing, especially whenever, because this is a Christian site, whenever dealing with the Christian God, we have every evidence to believe that God is a logical impossibility, that it doesn't exist.
Oh, yes.
That at least in the way that it's claimed in the biblical texts. Now, if you want to go to some sort of vague deistic Christian God, then you're not holding true to the source material. But that God is not
I'm
true.
sorry, I'm going to throw out that the deist God is a completely useless and pointless viewpoint.
Well, it's indistinguishable from reality.
It's indistinguishable from there being no God.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, it's a worthless and pointless viewpoint.
Right. Yeah. No, and I've said that before. Like the way I like to lay that out too is that, like, for instance, let's say that they proved that there was a deist God, right? Let's say somehow, well, proved is the wrong word, but I mean, colloquially is how I'm using it. But let's say there was evidence found, and it was strong evidence. They had strong evidence that there was a deist God, and it did create the universe, right? It would change my position from atheist to deist, but it wouldn't have any demonstrable effect on my life. I wouldn't have to change. Like, I wouldn't have to stop eating pork or masturbating because of that.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Absolutely nothing would change. Nothing would change. It is a pointless and useless viewpoint.
There's a gentleman in the chat that says that this show is just an echo chamber. Well, I'd like to tell you, Fred, that I'm sure you're a member of your own echo chamber with your Christianity. So take that and stick it in your pipe and smoke it.
Is he using the name Fred Gwynn?
No. Fred Gwynn, to directly combat Fred Gwynn's point,
good, knock yourself out.
Order to rule God out, that you can postulate something like the ontological argument. That's fine. I have no problem with that. First, you got to prove the premise true. And secondly, even if that causal origin God was true, that's indistinguishable from the natural order of reality. We're not talking about a deistic God. We are talking about a very theistic, specifically the Christian God. You cannot make the leap from the ontological argument to the Christian God. It cannot be done. Nobody has done it yet.
They don't connect in any way.
To say, well, you got to understand the causal origin order of the universe, et cetera, has nothing to do with the claims of the Christian God.
True.
I'm going to throw it out there. I'm offended that he's using the name Fred Gwynn because I love Fred Gwynn.
I'm wondering if it's Darth Dawkins trying to get on
the causation and ontological. If you're going to use logic from A to B and then stop at C, then you really need to just shut the fuck up. Because if you're going to use logic to prove your argument, then you have to use it all the way through. The creation needs a creator. The creator needs a creator. The cause needs a cause.
Oh, bad argument. Bad argument. That's not that's not how that works. That's a bad case against the cosmological.
I just want to tell Fred, we're
prime mover.
Here to debate Christians right now. We're just looking at the silly things you call fallacies. So I don't think, and as Conquering Thought says, we're definitely not an echo chamber because, trust me, we disagree a lot. So
yeah,
also, Fred, we'll drop your Twitter handle in the chat here, and I will be happy to follow you, and we can discuss this more later, perhaps on my channel.
Well, I'm wondering if he's Darth Dawkins going under a different name, and Darth Dawkins isn't worth anybody's time.
No, he's not.
No, he's a waste of time, presuppositionalist, and he's pretty bad at it too.
I love presupposition.
Well, precept is. I won't even have a conversation with a presuppositionalist Christian. I just won't, because I don't see that as ever being productive. I believe personally that entire argument is designed just to exacerbate the conversation until somebody gets so disgusted they throw their hands up and walk off, and then the other person gets to preen themselves and talk about how undefeatable their argument is. But it's just crap. It's a crap position.
Yeah.
That's Darth Dawkins. That's Darth Dawkins.
Oh, wait, hold on, you evolution fault.
Yeah, but I'm not a debater, Fred. I don't debate because it's pointless. You're not going to change my mind. I'm not going to change your mind. So what the fuck's the point in you trying? I can have my
I just want to
opinions
throw out there,
and talk to them about talk to my friends about them without you calling it a fucking echo chamber. It's called discussion.
I just want to throw out there. I need to throw out there. If Fred wants to have an actual debate, contact me on Twitter. DM me at the Crimson Fucker. You can get my Twitter from just about anyone in the chat at the moment.
Yeah, I'm sure Evans would be happy to debate
rules
you.
And arguments, and we can have an actual factual debate. And I would love to take you on. And we can host it here on Mole, or we can ask Steve at Non-Sequester. I would love to take you on in an actual factual debate.
Yeah, if you want to debate someone, Fred, why don't you debate someone like Kyle or someone like that?
Because if he's Dawkins banned, isn't he?
Yep.
Is he banned from everything with Steve McRae?
Yeah, he was invited on the Non Sequitur. Steve brought that up last night, and he chickened out because he doesn't have control of the room.
Oh shit! Wait, is this the guy that keeps going to the predisposition argument? You know, where does reason come from? You only have reason because of God.
Yes.
Oh, and from the chat.
That's scientific.
Apparently he's also disingenuous. From what I understand, what I've heard talked about him, he's disingenuous in his argument. And there's actually a group of people that follow him around and take his ass out every time he jumps in the chat. Like there's people that'll show up in the chat, and the minute he sees him, he'll duck out because they know his agenda.
Yeah, I've seen this guy. If this is who you guys are talking about, I've seen this guy many, many fucking times. And he has no argument. He just keeps going back to the same damn thing. So I'm going to now officially dismiss and ignore him as we continue on with our critique of this website.
Right. Yeah. Whatever. I'm just saying. I'm not going to invite you on. I don't want you on, Fred. So fuck off. You don't. If we're in a circle jerk, it's our circle jerk. You can't come.
What's wrong with
That's right. I don't want you touching my penis, Fred. You can't touch my penis, dude.
Childish. I'm not doing this to debate. This is just me chatting with my friends, drinking coffee, having fun. We're not doing this to fucking.
Well, I'm drinking vodka. Let's be honest.
Okay. Well, I'm just saying this is just a friendly chat. We're not fucking trying to. We're not trying to debate anybody right now. We're just chatting. That's all we're doing.
We're not running, Darth. We're just not going to put up with your bullshit. I mean, you have no argument, and we really don't want to fuck around and waste our time with your script that,
Yeah, and you can find that script online. It's the coolest thing. Like when I first heard about him, it was, I think Shannon Q was talking to a lady named Godless Girl and Steve McRae. And they pointed out I've got it bookmarked, but there's a site where this guy put together the entire script and how it runs and how to debunk it sentence by sentence by sentence by sentence.
I've seen it, and you know what, Darth? No, your challenge has been accepted by me. Conditions given. You now have to contact me on Twitter, and we will continue. So you are now done here demanding debate.
I would also
like to point that
I have also taken him up on this. So you have two.
All right. You have
Fred.
You have challenged. You have been accepted. We are now done with you and moving on.
Yeah, you've already disrupted my stream enough.
Dude, he's got 3 followers on Twitter. He's following 3 people, and he's got 3 followers. All right. He's obviously an intellectual black belt, right?
I found this in here. This one's funny. The popular YouTube Christian Shock of God likened atheism to a clown due to its hypocritical and foolish evidential standards. Shock of God repeatedly asked the YouTube atheist community, "What proof and evidence do you have that atheism is accurate and correct?" The YouTube atheist community became flustered and upset by this question. I don't recall becoming upset or flustered. Shock of God declared concerning their reaction to his question, "The hostility I'm getting over this question is unbelievable. It's like, picture this. Atheism is a clown and it didn't know it. And then I got the clown and I walked it over forced to look at itself in the mirror and it sees itself with its red hair, big nose, and big shoes in polka dot glory. Come on, dude.
Well, I mean, I'll admit something with the shock of God stuff. Some of the bigger channels, you know, that's the whole lack of belief thing argument. Don't handle it quite as well.
Yeah.
You know, but I mean,
this is a troll site, guys.
No. I'll grant that the atheist community could be seen as having been flustered by a completely retarded fucking question. Yeah, they were a little bit flustered by it because it was so stupid.
Well,
and that's fine. There's no reason to say, "Oh, you got flustered." No, yeah, you got a little taken aback because you asked us a question that doesn't make any sense. Yes, it's a malformed question, and said checkmate. It's going to get people a little bit flustered, but that doesn't mean you won.
Hey, right. What was the question? I missed it. I misunderstood it.
What evidence do you have that atheism is accurate and correct?
The site I put it in the side chat if you want to look at it too, so you can look at it with us.
What proof or evidence do you have that atheism is true and correct? And that is such a malformed question to begin with.
How can I why I didn't understand how you can answer that question. Atheism is a lack of belief in gods. I mean, what is there to prove?
Atheism is true because they exist. Atheists exist. So atheism, you know what I mean? Like, I don't get it either.
Well, I mean, the point is to give our justification.
I'm pretty sure I exist.
We don't have to prove it is correct. We believe it just like you believe in your God. So I don't see what the fucking issue is.
Well, here's the thing. One, we've got to clarify which definition of atheist we're using because they're obviously going by the philosophical, given its prior mention.
Yeah.
Okay.
And so, but giving a positive proof that atheism is true is not difficult. It's not a question that should fluster. It's actually, in my opinion, a much stronger position than just saying, "Well, I reject your claims."
I agree.
Yes.
And so
the burden of proof for a negative claim
is
an argument of absence or an argument of impossibility. Yeah. These are much easier arguments to form and maintain versus anything else.
And
so they can come at me and demand proof.
I have one very, very strong piece of evidence against the existence of any gods, and that is the lack of evidence for.
Yeah, that in and of itself is evidence for the non-existence of the deities.
Sure. It's not proof.
These are the questions that really, bother me whenever the atheist community reacts to them because they go, "Well, I don't have to do anything because the burden of proof is on you." Which is fine if you're philosophically an agnostic, but then you can't go, "Well, I'm an agnostic, but I believe that there are no gods."
But most don't, though. Most don't.
Yeah.
So, I mean, it's one of those the definitional things, and so these are questions.
Yeah. There's a large difference between the colloquial atheist and the philosophical atheist. Yeah. It is definitional and engaging in conversations. If you're coming at it colloquially and they're coming at it philosophically, there is no conversation.
Yeah, something's seriously wrong with your mic, dude.
Yeah, but even if you're a philosophical agnostic, you still have a burden to justify your position.
Yeah,
and that'd be the lack of evidence right there. That's enough to say, well, I'm not a theist because the evidence isn't there for it, but I'm not an atheist because the evidence isn't there I don't have justification to go that far.
Yeah,
but I mean, you've justified your position, and
you still, no matter what, you have to justify your position. You can't just go, "I am this," and you should.
Well, if you want to be rational, rationality, you can.
Well, they think we don't look at the evidence that they present us. I mean, the only evidence you have is a fucking 2,000-year-old book. That's it. That's all you have is a book and your beliefs. So what evidence of God is there? I want to know what evidence there is. They say there's significant evidence for God. Well, where is it at?
Yeah, well, Mo, have you ever looked at
the SJ? SJ has evidence.
All day.
She talks
all day.
there's a pyramid scheme. They've got the person that they're giving their money to telling them what to believe, and they just buy it. So they think they can go out and literally just regurgitate it without backing it up because they just assume it's true. Just like that guy that was on last night with Steve McRae and
Chris Boyer.
Yeah. That guy had obviously just heard that Darwinism was the only logical, you know what I mean, was the only.
Well, and see, this is my problem with.
And it's not true. And he couldn't back that up because it wasn't true.
Yeah, well, this is what I have an issue with Steve and those guys' position. I mean, Darwinism is still generally used in the English sense.
Yeah,
you know,
I didn't like the way they were.
Stuff, so Darwinism and stuff there. So sticking on that, Darwinism doesn't think that just means this and that. And it's like, well, you know, sure in the U.S., but Darwinism is still something well used to mean, you know, the modern synthesis and stuff.
And that happens a lot. Like Aaron Ra, I've noticed he'll get caught up on words and the conversation will stop because he will not use that word. And it's like, let's stop arguing over what the words mean and say, what do you mean by that word? And then
what's the context?
Yeah, what are you saying that word to me? What do you mean when you use that word? And then we can actually have a conversation about what it is you're trying to say, not whether or not we should call it Darwinism.
Well, yeah, it's a Brett Weinstein made a brilliant point in one of his Pangburn videos about definitions that you can either get bogged down or you can relinquish some ground and use the word as they intended, you know. And either you can move on in the conversation or you can just stop it right there. And really it comes down to a value judgment. If continuing the conversation is worthwhile is what you have to look at with taking that. If you don't think you're going to get anywhere, just stick to your definition and go, look, we're done. But if you think that the conversation could be fruitful by you modifying your definition a little bit, as long as everybody's clear on what the definition is, then you can move forward. I mean, everything's a language game whenever you boil it down.
And I've fallen for I've fallen for that trap myself. I used to get so bogged down in what the definition of atheism is or isn't that I forgot that I actually do believe that no gods exist.
Yeah,
I will assert that no gods actually exist. So
and that's why whenever these things come up,
you want to pick,
I'm a philosophical atheist, you know, and in philosophy, the definitions can be a little bit nebulous, but especially terms like that, like hard atheist, I know exactly what I mean by that, you know, and we can move on.
Yep, and then the only other thing you have to watch when you're changing definitions for sake of argument is to make sure they're not equivocating.
Yeah, well, and that's one of those. Yeah, definitely, because theists especially will equivocate like tremendously. Especially faith is the biggest equivocation fallacy in my brain that I've ever run across. You know,
or objective.
Yeah, objective.
When talking about objective morality and stuff, they jump between multiple definitions of objective that it's.
That is fucking hilarious. I love the objective moral argument because at one moment it is set in stone, something like lying. Great example. Set in stone, lying is bad. It's objectively immoral. It is a sin. Until you bring up hiding Jews from the Nazis during World War II.
Or until you get to the second page of Genesis.
Well, I mean, ignoring that, ignoring the second page of Genesis stuff, what they're working as a form of objective morals is moral absolutism. But even in moral absolutism, there's different things. So this, like a hierarchy of values. So there's a couple of responses for that one there. So just, you know, not lying and hiding stuff. So there's might be a higher value that comes in there. So you should always do the greater good. So if there's a greater good, you know, protect innocence is greater than not lying. So you can take that.
But if something is objectively true, if it's objectively true that lying is bad, it doesn't matter what good you achieve with lying. It's still bad.
But that's not the point of the hierarchy. I mean, that's an admission of it. So you get two moral absolutes that conflict. Which moral absolute should you follow, right? And if there's and all moral absolutism is value monism. So there's a hierarchy of values that you can derive the order from. So you either do the lesser two evils, right? So both are evil there, or you're always striving to serve the greater good. And then there's a third option. There's preference. They're both on equal levels, and there's preference. So there's different answers in moral absolutism to those questions, and doesn't take away from the objectivity of it.
Yeah, and neither of those things takes away from that being what we would consider an objective moral framework.
Yeah.
So again, it's one of those things that it's kind of an equivocation in absolutism. The scenario that you placed does not compromise the usage of objective in that sphere. So, again,
I will acknowledge that. It's just it conflicts with my worldview and my philosophy. I'm a naturalist. I'm a hedonist. There is no objective anything. So anyone claiming objective to me, it just conflicts with my own personal philosophies to the point where I can acknowledge the equivocance, but I don't respect it.
But I mean, even your personal philosophy, that doesn't do anything to get rid of anything being an objective morality either. It's like saying, my feelings on whether or not 1 + 1 = 2 doesn't change 1 + 1 = 2 being objective, right? So if I say now 1 + 1 is 2,
not a moral. Those are different.
No, these are drawn from axioms that we use and stuff and derive from. So let's go something different. Parallel lines in math, do they ever cross?
If you're stoned.
If you want to get into moral axioms, I'm an interesting person to get into this with, mainly because I am a technical psychopath. So my view on morals is incredibly different from yours. If you come to me and tell me that objectively something is morally wrong, I can come to you with 27 different reasons why that statement is false. I mean,
sure, that's a different. But what I'm getting at with the parallel lines is that it all depends on the math that you're using, whether or not parallel lines will cross. So in Euclidean geometry, they'll never cross within Euclidean space, and then in things like projection geometry or algebraic geometry, they'll cross at the point of infinity. So they'll intersect eventually. Neither of those maths are any less objective.
Isn't there something like Pythagorean fifth principle or something that no one could ever figure out, where to up parallel lines crossing eventually? You know what I'm talking about?
You say that
I don't know.
You say that those are based on a subjective definition of observable reality.
If you have an objective anything and you can find an exception to it in any form or way, it ceases to be objective and it becomes subjective. It's not that difficult to grasp. Well, how so? You just said parallel lines never cross unless you switch your whatever mathematics you happen to be using. You just made parallel lines never cross a subjective term, as in they don't cross in Euclidean geometry, but yet at the point of infinity, they will take the right turn at the rectal buttock. It becomes subjective. You just made it subjective.
No, those are still, we can derive those that stuff independent of anybody. So given
just a quick question. I'm a little bit underqualified to talk about this, but I have an actual question. If that's true, like from a sense of like saying something is subjective, then couldn't you say it is subjective to what mathematics you're using?
Well, what we're doing is objective and subjective is whether or not it's mind independent, right? So if we have a set of things, so like take logic for example. Another example, we have multiple different forms of logic that do away with the classic laws of logic that everybody tries to stick to, and what Darth Dawkins tries to use in his presuppositionalism, which is crap. But there's paraconsistent logics where the law of excluded middle is either gone or greatly reduced, and even the law of non-contradiction is eased. So this is how do I say the word, dialetheism or something like that. I'm probably butchering the word, but
I'm not familiar with that.
Those are in paraconsistent logics. So they ease the rules on non-contradiction and stuff there, but nobody would say anything we derive from these logics is any less objective, right? Whether we're using the classic logic or...
I'm actually not very familiar with that. So I'm going to look that up.
Yeah.
Okay. To articulate our subjective versus objective argument, can we both agree that objectively gravity pulls things to the center of mass? Can we agree on that?
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, we can agree.
Would we agree that is an objective fact? No matter.
Well, so now we're getting into the equivocation of objective.
The word pull could be argued. It could be argued that the word pull is wrong in that sentence, but I get what you're saying.
Okay. You're right. We are getting deep into epistemology arguments. So,
but this is where I think we're starting to equivocate objective and how we argue things. So you're arguing that an objective out in reality. So something I believe that'd be in the field of ontology with it. But then what we're talking about,
would be that something objective would be a fact of reality, independent of any form of interpretation or any scenario.
Right. If a tree falls in the forest, sound waves propagate regardless if there's an eardrum to convert them into what we call sound.
Correct.
All right, well, then we have, so then if this is the only thing we're going to hold true objective, then we have those problems with the different logics or the different, even forms of knowledge and how you know things, right? How you can, different epistemologies and stuff, whether you're a coherentist, foundationalist, a correspondence theorist, things like that. So whether or not we can say things are objective from those axiom starts, what we're taking axiomatically is different whether or not the axioms themselves are objective in there. You know what I mean? As a part of reality.
Morality can't be objective in the grand universal sense because we're talking about humans. We're the result of billions of years of evolution, and this has built up this lattice of thoughts and stuff in us. Lobsters don't have morality. How can morality be objective when crabs don't give a fuck?
It takes a certain level of cognitive ability to actually have ethics and morals, and you see that play across the animal world, whereas ours are probably the most succinct. You do see empathy and somewhat more systems in other animals,
right?
In some other animals.
In some, right? So I say like the way I like to look at it is it's that human morality arose as a necessity for survival, and it has evolved with us to better meet our needs as we have evolved as well.
Yeah. Morality.
I would put out
the objective. It doesn't have to be objective. It's totally subjective.
No, it doesn't. And even with objective morality existing, I mean, I hold to objective morality, but it's still going to have to make all the same arguments that you would if you were a subjectivist. I mean, it could be programmed into the fabric of the universe that something is objective or wrong the way that you guys want to say it, but why we should follow it still doesn't make any, we choose any of that, but that doesn't make any of the things any less objective. So, because that's where we're getting into some equivocation of how we do objective.
I think it's possible to have objective morality. I think it's possible to have objective morality as long as you establish a basis that everyone agrees on and measures their morality against.
I mean, you could also look at it. You could also look at it that for social cohesion, certain things have to happen for social cohesion, right? So there's a likelihood that in any higher cognitive animal that comes along, you're going to see a lot of the same moral standpoints because they're necessary for there to be a social group at all.
Let's talk about chimps. Chimps will, if a chimp wants to be the alpha of the group, he will start kissing babies. he will start going around the group, literally kissing babies when he wants to be president. Also, chimps have societies. You can go to one chimp group and they might be more violent than another chimp group. You can take a chimp from the violent group and take him to the less violent group, and within 6 months, he will stop being so violent. He will be less violent. He will have what's it called? Acclimated to their society.
Yeah.
So I don't like chimps.
You don't like chimps?
They could be violent.
No, they're scary.
Shunned for their violence. They could be
coarse and rough, and they get everywhere.
So
they could be raised up because of their violence. They could be shunned because of their violence. It's a lot like human society, and the different groups have different rules and different things that they find okay.
Right. Yeah. And also, like, it's the moral landscape is dependent on the situation that people are in. You know what I mean? Like, we'll take care of our infirmed and things like that now because we have the ability to do so. But what happens if you have a situation where doing that is absolutely detrimental to the entire group? You know, it's subjective all the way across the board. In terms of that, but there does seem to be certain aspects of at least human morality that appear in almost all human civilizations, and I believe the reason for that personally is that those things are necessary for there to actually be a society at all.
Yeah, they're necessary for survival.
If you've got a group of dogs and one dog is going around biting all the other dogs, those other dogs are going to shun that dog.
Exactly, because it fucks up their society. I mean, if you just like, I mean, let's go back to biblical times, all right? And the 10 Commandments made sense back then because back then things were tribal, things were very small. Everybody in the village knew each other. Everybody was like semi-related. So if you fucking were to murder someone, that would cause major strife in the community. If you were to not honor your mother and father, not work the fields, like take care of their properties, that would ruin them as people. So it was considered a sin to them. If you were, if you fucked your neighbor's wife, that would cause strife in the village. I
honestly think that to argue that they made sense, I would argue more that they were written by the high class people, and this is what they wanted the people under them
they were
to
laws.
behave like.
That's all they were.
Not necessarily for the betterment of the society itself, but for the betterment of the people writing the law.
Oh, okay, I see what you're saying. But yeah, that's what they were essentially. They're just laws. They were fucking laws, but they're like our laws now. Like, say a future civilization found our Constitution and stuff like that, and they're like, oh, okay, they based a religion upon that kind of thing, That's all. It would be the same as doing that.
I love how Fred is coming into our friendly conversation and trying to challenge us all to debates, and then acting like we're cowards when we're not taking him up. We're here to talk to our friends, my dude. We don't like you. We don't know you. You go away. Go the fuck away, dude. We don't want you here.
We're here to enjoy each other's company, not to argue with you.
Well, let's see how long he sticks around now that Darwin's greatest hits is here.
Thanks for, I'll discuss. And by the way, welcome.
I'll send him my email address. See if he wants
to chat. Glad to see you here, man.
I know. I've done the same thing. I've told him. I've linked my Twitter handle twice and told him.
No one here has been a coward.
That's what he's
we just have no interest. Some of us just have no interest in talking to you because we think you're a jerk.
And some of us have taken you up on it. Some of us have sent you our contact info, and you're still going, none will face me.
Well, this is him building himself up, going around. Oh, I don't know what he does that he's out on these things 24 hours a day.
Well, here we go.
Send me your
mightiest debater.
Send me your strongest.
I think Destiny was too kind the last time they met up with him. We're trying to deal with his bullshit.
It'll be Achilles and Hector all over again.
Why do you think we're in here trying to convince anybody of anything right now, Fred? Do you think this is an atheist stream where we're here to convert people to atheism? This is a friendly stream where we're here to talk to friends. If you're not our friend, go the fuck away.
I feel like I accused us of being in an echo chamber and just agreeing with each other, and we just spent 30 minutes arguing about objective morality.
Yeah, we just disagreed like a motherfucker. Okay.
By the way, we're on the same you know, I think me and Red are on the same page with the objective morality thing, and practically everybody else here is equivocating. But
you see, that's good. We're all friends, and we can disagree.
I don't believe.
We're not an echo chamber.
I'm actually gonna present a new denomination of atheism after this chat because y'all disagree with me.
You gotta fucking nail a list to the fucking door. Yeah. Nail a list on the mole's website.
I'm just
90 objections.
Yeah.
To new atheism.
1 Minuten bitte. That means hang on a minute in German.
Is that an Eddie Izzard reference?
Yes, it was.
Yeah, Eddie Izzard is so awesome.
Yes, bad-tempered badger is a pianist.
Yeah, it is funny though that dude. We've had people do that before.
You ruined the monsters for me, Fred Gwynn. Fuck you.
Yeah, Mo. Wasn't it one of your streams too, where the guy came on and was challenging everybody? I was on it. What was it about? I can't remember. But there was another one time.
Dude?
Remember his name? But we were talking. He was like.
This dude has walked into a fucking coffee party, a morning coffee party, and he's trying to pick fights with us.
By the way,
yeah, Stags was on it. I think Red was too. I think it was Stags, Red.
Party people. Fuck you all. I'm right about objective morality.
Yeah, I don't understand how.
Get that dildo out of your hands.
But we've disagreed numerous times.
It's not a dildo. It's a beer bottle.
It's a dildo.
I really don't think this. I don't think this is a troll site. I really think this is a legit Christian shit. This site.
If it is a troll site, it's indistinguishable from a legitimate.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, it was set up as a legitimate site, but you know, internet's gonna be.
I want to read a little bit more about it. Let's see what you think about this. It says atheism and its retention rate in individuals. In 2012, a Georgetown University study was published indicating that only 30% of those that grow up in an atheist household remain atheists as adults.
It says what?
They're trying to say that only 30% of people who grew up in an atheist household remain atheists as adults. I don't know. I don't know what the fuck what that's supposed to mean to us. Atheists.
No, I'd have to look up some numbers.
We're not declining. I don't believe we're declining.
Look up some numbers on that, but I've never.
And then it goes on to
I mean, it's a weird thing to just focus on atheists growing up in atheist households. I mean, most atheists end up coming out of religious households.
That's probably because that's the only part of it that fits their narrative. So that's the only part they can put in.
Well,
I'm sure the church counts all their 8-year-olds. I know the Mormon church counts all their 8-year-olds and up, but I don't. You don't count until you're an adult. When you're an adult and you decide what side you're on, that's when I count you. You know.
Exactly.
But then, even then, they're probably not run into religion in high numbers if they're no longer atheists. They probably move more over to the agnosticism.
Yeah, and tons of people don't even know they're atheists. Tons of people are just afraid to say they're an atheist or an agnostic.
Right,
and
there's the stigma of the word.
Yeah, they say, I don't really believe. I was like this for a long time. I don't believe in organized religion, but I believe in a higher power.
Right, because I mean, it's the fear, it's the peer pressure thing almost. Like you don't want to come. I mean, because people will attack you. Like I'm not gonna lie, I'm a recovered drug addict. Okay, and I did go to 12-step programs, and I had a hell of a time because I would not fucking bend to their will. I would not admit there was a higher power, and they're like, you got to admit there's a higher power. I'm like, no, there's fucking no supernatural
My
power.
favorite is make the doorknob your higher power.
Yeah, that's ridiculous, dude.
Okay, turn my life and will over to the doorknob, and
you know what? If you want to say, if God got me sober, the God that got me sober was good orderly direction. That's what changed my life. Because when I was
God of the doorknob does occasionally grab my pocket when I'm walking past.
It is real.
My God was a group of drunks. That's what I went with.
People that were like me that I could talk to, and I could see them stay sober, so that gave me motivation to stay sober myself.
I am my own God.
But a lot of those people in AA wouldn't believe in God if they weren't being fed that bullshit in AA.
And that's what another thing I was going to bring up is, have you ever noticed how religion preys on people that are in dire or weak? Like that's how they get their numbers. Like people are like, they're at their worst. They're like, oh well, here's Jesus. Here's something to cling to fucking make you feel better. And that's how they're predators. I mean, they prey on weak and disillusioned people. And
we really need to apologize to Fred because we have failed to meet his expectations of what this stream is supposed to be.
You mean we were supposed to just be shit talking and agree with her?
We're supposed to be circle jerking each other.
I missed the memo that the stream's about you, Fred. I'm sorry I missed that.
Look, if there's circle jerking going on,
we're arguing about objective versus subjective.
Hold on, there was like a whole bunch of talking at once.
Yeah, go ahead, say that again.
Who?
Badger, go.
Oh, man. I just said if there's circle jerking going on, can I have some?
Yeah. I was going to say, I'm down. I'm totally down.
Fred doesn't get it.
I think Darth wants to be a soggy biscuit in the middle.
When Mo clicks that go off air button, when Mo clicks that go off air button, whoo boy!
It's on. It's on.
Yeah, I'll tell you what, man. We got this about the sausage party, but I mean, we can make it work.
Oh God.
Well, Darth can be
we'll just form a
Darth can be our soggy biscuit in the middle.
It's only listen now. It's only homosexual if you make eye contact.
And it doesn't count over the computer.
Smile. No one smile.
How can you make eye contact over a hangout? You can't.
There you go. That's what I'm talking about. We can be JO buddies, y'all. We get us some crystals to hang around the neck and get JO together and see if we can make them glow.
You guys want to come over here and stomp on my train like a monster?
That is the greatest thing ever. That Craigslist ad is the greatest thing in the history of great things.
No, but don't break it. Because
But the best part is like all of those JOs ads. They're like, I'm not gay. I just want to jack it with my bros, but I'm not gay. And I'm like, dude, I hate to break it to you, man. It may not be completely gay, but it's knocking on gay's door. You are dabbling in dick, buddy. It's great stuff, man. If you guys haven't seen that, go to Google and look up J.O. Buddies. It is the greatest thing in the history of all time.
Looking for a J.O. buddy, no fags.
No. Just looking for somebody to hang out with and stroke my penis.
Yeah.
But I'm going to stroke my own penis. And you stroke your own penis. As long as we don't touch each other's penises, it's not gay.
How you doing, Fred?
I just have to go the Dutch rudder route then, huh?
I just want to welcome all the new people that have never been here before. Thanks for coming. I'm glad to hear.
Fred.
And I want
to send a shout out to all my followers that came in.
Yeah. If you guys got a Twitter, let me know what it is, and I'd be happy to follow you. Satan is my Lord, Kiba, Rise to Raise, any of you guys, let me know what your Twitter is. I'd be more than happy to follow you, fellers and ladies. If you're ladies, I'm sorry, I don't know which one. But yeah, this is kind of fun. That I mean, like what Stag said is literally what it was. It's a bunch of friends having a coffee party, not having a care in the world. Now we're all getting challenged like this is the WWF.
This was not a debate or a formal engagement. My God.
Yeah, we literally just woke up and we're like, got up, we woke up this morning and Mole was like, hey, you guys want to hang out? We're like, yeah. This would be like the equivalent if we were like all sitting at like a coffee bar or something, hanging out, talking about stuff.
Yeah,
and somebody walked up on the side and was like, you guys are going to debate me now.
That was my point.
No,
which one of you can defend your atheism?
I don't like the words you're saying. Defend them now.
Most of us can, but that's not what we're here to do.
I mean, I'm here to meet new people like Stag. I haven't met Stag yet, except for that one time. It was really quick. Nice to meet you, sir. I work third shift, for God's sake. This is nice for me. I'm drinking. I'm relaxing. I'm doing
What you call an echo chamber, Fred? We call it friendship. These are people that are like-minded like us because I live in a small community. It's hard to find people that think like I do.
This is totally an echo chamber. Let me tell you something. As an American, all these facts confuse and enrage me.
Especially when they're echoing back and forth
it's
like
so
that.
echoey, I can barely hear it.
What is church, Fred?
Let's just stop. Fred, I appeal to you to please stop using words like echo chamber when you run into situations like this, because we could very easily go over to one of your friendly streams where you're with friends that all agree with you and say the same shit about you. But that's not what it is. We're allowed to have these little pockets of friendly streams. Not every encounter has to be a debate. Not every time I go on the internet has to be a fight. You know what I mean? Being in an echo chamber means you never step out. Being in an echo chamber means you never hear the other side, and that's not the case with any of us.
Yeah, if I may offer a little bit of advice.
My dear heathenistic buddies, I should mention I have a tweet, direct message, and an email from @evolution_false.
It's him.
Saying,
tag me now. Don't wait. Don't think.
Wait.
Just tag.
Hold on, guys.
Read the message.
We're expecting too much from somebody whose tag is evolution false. I mean, really.
You know what?
To expect him to understand that this was a coffee stream.
I'm just here for the gay sex. I don't know about you guys.
Me too. I'm on board. I'm down. Me too.
Yeah.
Let's do it.
You know what?
Hot dog parties are the best parties.
I'm on to gin and tonic. Let's get it on.
I feel left out too, though, Badger, because I've linked this guy my stuff several times and haven't gotten anything from him.
What did he send to you, Badger?
An email and a direct message and the tweet.
It's probably because you're the one holding the dildo.
Yeah.
That'd be why you actually got the message. Hold on. Let me get my dildo out.
He's like, yep, I found my J.O. buddy for sure. And he's a Badger. He's from Narnia. My J.O. buddy is from Narnia.
Oh, fuck me wrong at Narnia. I could beat off to Narnia all day. I have found my soulmate.
I'm still waiting for the DM.
You know what? You know what these people remind me of? These people are like Charlie Zelenov. They go around. I don't know
that person.
Oh, check him out on YouTube. He's the greatest of all time. What he does is he goes around to boxing gyms and he challenges people to light sparring matches, and then he whoops the fuck out of them.
Oh, I saw that guy.
I know what you're talking about.
and then he claims victory. And it's like, wait a minute. And he's never beat anybody in a real fight. Like, whenever he gets into a real fight, he gets his ass whooped and he fucking runs out of the ring.
I saw that
and
guy.
claims victory.
I know who you're talking about.
He was in a ring with some guy who was lightly tapping him, and he just fucking lays him out on the shin. Just
So in other words, he's okey-doking him. He's giving them the okie doke. He's like, all right, we're just going to pretend we're not really going to go too heavy or too hard. And then the minute their guard is not upright, he smacks them with the hard right and puts them down.
Yeah, he just goes full power at him and then claims victory when they go, what the fuck are you doing, dude? You know?
Yeah, let's see him pull that with the. I want to see him pull that with the wrong person though. Like,
he has. He definitely has. People have chased his ass down on the fucking street. Well, he's assaulting people. He's going into a gym to challenge somebody to a light sparring match, and then he's going full power on them when they don't expect it. That's fucking assault.
That is. I agree.
It's bullshit. But that's what these people do. People like, Dean, who's been proven wrong over and over again and just keeps coming back with the same fucking story. And it's like, dude.
Oh, God. Did you guys see the after stream that Red Pill put on after they got beat up all over the place on Nonsec?
I don't think anybody sees that.
No.
Nobody watches it.
I watched it.
I don't watch that.
I watched it. It was pitiful. But I actually tweeted something out about it. I put a tweet out because in the stream, Dean was like, "Atheism is on the way out. I'm convinced it'll be gone in 6 months." And
oh God, yes.
I took a screenshot. I took a screenshot of that stream and then all the other channels, and just pointed out that they've got like 5 people watching their stuff, and everybody else has got like 1,000 views or something crazy like that.
Yeah, I remember that fucking tweet. That was hilarious. Like, they're on the way out. Atheism is done. All 5 of you here are the world from now on.
Oh, but it wasn't just that. It was him licking his wound. It was kind of silly. But one of the things, like he said on that stream at one point, that Eve Kanainen is not one person, but a collective of people.
Did he?
Really?
Yeah.
That's how it makes
straight up.
So Eve.
That makes sense how disjointed and crazy her tweets are.
Sense. It does make sense. It really does.
I've wondered about her. She
That would
looks
make
like
sense,
a robot.
especially considering how I got blocked from Eve. When Eve posted about an atheist committing murder-suicide with his wife and himself, and I respond with an article about a Christian pastor killing his wife and kids, and suddenly, wham, I'm blocked because I'm a liar.
I think I said 1 or 2 things to her in a tweet when Steve was arguing about over whether or not divine command theory was subjectivism.
Am I triggered?
And she blocked me right away, and that was like, June or whatever, something like that. But yeah, 2 tweets to her, and that was it.
Yeah, I got blocked.
Dude, I tried to get blocked by her for 8 months, and it finally worked. I went out of my way. I was like, this is going to happen.
I did that.
She misrepresented my position on something, so I shared a meme with her, and I got blocked.
Yeah. I think that's what I did. I did that too. That was my one that got blocked.
I made one that it was, Eve and misrepresenting my position, representing my actual position. And it was the man looks at the girlfriend thing. Just a silly, whatever. And instant block.
Oh, I saw that.
I mean, at least I directly refuted her point and how Christian of this man. And, I can almost understand my block.
Yeah, no, and the thing about it was she came onto one of my tweet threads and went just off in left field, something I wasn't even talking about. And so I wasn't even going to engage with her. I just snapped out a snarky meme, and the next thing I know, people are sharing crap that I can't see, and I'm blocked by Eve. I'm like, well, whatever,
That's kind of how it went with me and S.J. Thomas. That's kind of how I got blocked by SJ.
I cannot get blocked by SJ.
She doesn't block me either.
You know what? You want to get blocked by SJ? I can give you the secret. Just keep coming at her about how she celebrated a human being having a terminal disease. And how
you know what? I've hit her pretty hard, and she still hasn't blocked me. I don't know. Maybe it's because I've actually defended her a couple of times because, there was a few times somebody was trying to like approach her job, sending emails to her place, and I went over there and shut them down. But I've hit her pretty heavy on a few things, and for whatever reason, I'm still not blocked.
I want to, not to disrupt our echo chamber or anything like that, but I stopped trying to get blocked by people a while back when Ray Comfort wouldn't block me for the longest time, and I realized that I just wasn't willing to push that extra to turn it up to 11. And I decided, why am I even trying to get blocked by these people? What am I doing? Am I just going out being a dick just to hope that they'll block me, and why? So
when I did it with Eve, I'm not trying to get blocked. I'm trying to engage these people. Yeah. And Eve blocked me, and SJ blocked me. I can't get Kemham or Ray Comfort to engage me, so they're not worth my time. I want someone to engage me and have a conversation.
I figured it out. I just figured it out. They're only blocking the people that want to engage. The people that are being dickheads trying to get blocked, they're not blocking them because they want everybody to see that. They want everybody to see me.
I troll SJ unmercilessly. I'm upfront about it. She hasn't blocked me.
The thing that kills me about SJ,
I actually approach SJ with the intent of actually approaching her. Like Eve is the only person I could think of that, because it was the thing that she had done. She had said that Muslim countries that are killing atheists still have a greater moral compass than atheists themselves or anti-theists themselves. So she threw that out there, and I was like, okay, we're done. I'm done.
Yeah, right.
You can get it now. You can just get it. Like we're not even gonna. It's not even a point. You can just get it.
I'm sorry. Her views on morals and how she defines them is so loose and fast. I mean, I'll be honest with you. I am technically a psychopath. Empathy? That's beyond me. I could give a fuck less what you're feeling because it doesn't matter. But when she says, morally, you have to love and care for fellow human beings, but then openly, publicly, and consistently celebrates another human being having a terminal fucking disease. That's where I draw the line, and I hold you accountable to your own fucking morals.
Even a psychopath can see the failure in logic.
So
I'm sorry.
I was just here minding my own business, and I just just thunder or fireworks or something startled all the hedgehogs that I keep upstairs running around in little wheels to power my burrow, and the power went out. So there we go.
Well, that's because you don't have the hedgehog highways. You need to build those hedgehog highways. While England is killing badgers left and right,
the hedgehog
autobahns for hedgehog highways.
You must build the hedgehog autobahns. With an autobahn, the hedgehogs can run fast. Keep room powered. Hedgehog.
It sounds like a joke. But it's not. Badger, tell them about the highways for hedgehogs.
Yeah, there's a whole thing, right? Because of new housing construction in rural areas, hedgehogs are becoming more and more endangered. So the idea is for hedgehog highways, which are little, small, tiny archways in walls and fences that hedgehogs can fit through to get between gardens.
Fuck, no.
Yep, fuck, they want little holes in fences. So hedgehogs can run around and not get trapped in someone's yard or trapped out of someone's yard while they're shooting badgers because what was it, Badger? 5 cows had some kind of fucking virus.
Okay, so here's the thing. The badger cull is about bovine tuberculosis, which is, scientifically speaking, it is possible to be transferred between badgers and cows. However, there is shaky or no evidence that it is the cause of most outbreaks of the disease in cattle populations. However, in one particular area, which I can't remember exactly which one it was right now, I'd have to look it up. A cow was shown to have bovine tuberculosis. So they went and found all the badgers they could in the area, found that 5 out of the entire quite large population, I think it was 5, had bovine tuberculosis, and only one of those had the same strain that the cow had. So they decided to extend the cull area to try and kill all the badgers in that area.
Sounds Nazi-ish to me.
Makes perfect fucking sense.
Yeah, it's a bit of a shit policy, really.
And you know what? Conquering Thought brought up something that reminded me, Badger, you wanted to have a talk with me about my particular views and my psychopathy and my emulated empathy.
Yes, so I did. I did indeed.
We need to set that date up because Conquering Thought is rather interested in it. So after the stream,
I was having a conversation with some friends of mine recently, and it went along these lines. There's one guy in that little group of friends that's rather unpopular at the moment because he keeps doing silly things. And we were just discussing psychopaths in fiction. And I said, I know a guy who's a psychopath. And all of them immediately said this guy that they don't like.
Oh, so they don't like me. Awesome.
No, they said this other guy. I was like, no, I meant this other
okay. Okay, yeah. He's obviously the psychopath.
People think that if somebody does shit that they don't like, then that makes them a psychopath. You really have to get to know. I've known this dude for years, and just like 2 years ago, I looked at him one day and I'm like, dude, I think you might be a sociopath. And he's like, what the fuck does that mean? And I kind of explained it to him, and he goes, you know what? I think you might be right. Like, but I've known this
years. Interesting fact. 1 out of 100 people, statistically, is a psychopath. Many of us are functioning population. Many of us are functioning. Some of us are high functioning, and most of us don't even know.
Hey, Crimson.
Well, I'll be right back.
Just real quick, to jump in. I'm pretty sure, and she can correct me if I'm wrong, but I'm pretty sure that the doe-eyed atheist wanted to have a conversation with you too.
I am more than willing. You know, I am a high functioning psychopath, and it is psychopathy. It is not sociopathy. It is genetic, and it is a malformation in my brain. It is not environmental and learned. I am more than willing to engage with anyone on a conversation on this. It's something that needs more exposure. People need to be more aware of this issue. I mean,
I heard a story about a doctor that was testing people's brain waves and stuff, their brain patterns, known psychopaths, and he had tests. He put his own MRIs in there as a control.
Oh, the doctor?
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah, and he found out he was a psychopath too.
Yeah.
They found they found the psychopaths tend to lead like be CEOs or surgeons, stuff that's like very high stress, and because they can deal with the stress. They don't have to deal with the emotions.
There are certain jobs, certain roles, certain social required formations that sociopaths and psychopaths fill better. Most of your world leaders, most of your CEOs, most of your high-profile surgeons, lawyers, these things, high stress, high burnout situations. Most of these people are psychopaths.
They can detach
themselves. It's not that we detach ourselves. We have no attachment. We do not feel that empathy. Now, something I need to clarify. A lack of empathy is not a lack of emotion. This is a problem I have run into since I have been open with my psychopathy and trying to raise awareness of this issue. We have the full emotional range. We just tend to express inappropriate emotional responses.
It's almost like an autism thing.
Like they can be seen in a similar way by other people. People on the autism spectrum can.
Well, I just meant that they don't react. They don't react They don't react to emotions the way other people would, is what I mean.
Right, exactly. And we don't express empathy in the same way that other people would either.
Right.
But we feel empathy.
Here's
People on the autism spectrum definitely have empathy.
Oh yeah.
Here's a wonderful example that should delineate the difference between autism and psychopathy. When I entered the 5th grade, I had moved to a new town, and I went to a new school. And there was this one individual that I met in the 5th grade. And this person I was in the same class with in the 5th grade. I was in the same class with in the 6th grade. In the 7th grade, this was in California, so we had junior high school, 7th and 8th grade. In the 7th grade, I had 5 classes with this person. In the 8th grade, I had 7 classes with this person. In the 9th grade, I had 4 classes with this person. And in the 10th grade in high school, I had 3 classes with this person. So I spent a lot of time with this person. Normally, you would call this person my best friend. He called me his best friend. Well, one day during lunch in the 10th grade, one of the high school quintessential jock bullies off the football team came to accost this individual. And I was right there. I was watching. And they got into a fight. The fight lasted 15 seconds. This person got hit in the head and then literally flopped like a fish on the ground for 2 to 3 minutes. You would be concerned, correct?
Absolutely.
I laughed my ass off.
See, I would have raged. I would have lost my shit, and I would have grabbed a weapon and attacked it.
Yeah, that would have been on. It would have been on.
That sounds juicy.
I'm the optimist.
That would be a normal response. That would be a normal response. You see, I've studied these things, and I know the normal response is
I think
concern
an even more normal response would be concern for the gentleman on the floor. I think that would be the major normal response would be to address the hurt individual.
Prime normal. And the prime normal is my friend was hurt. I must care for them. The other extreme normal is rage and attack. To me, it was fucking hilarious. Because have you ever seen a person flop like a fish?
Yeah.
That's funny. Fuck you, that's funny.
I can if I didn't have any empathy, I would think it was funny.
Right.
I think it's funny.
I watched a guy do it after hitting a crack rock one time.
Oh shit!
Sorry.
Fuck. You're gonna die.
Funny.
I'm a very
I don't care who you are.
I'm a very empathetic person, but I must say, working in the medical field for 18 years, like I did, it did desensitize me some. So like, I may not react the same as a person that's not used to seeing it would. Like, I may laugh a little bit seeing someone flop like a fish because it is more humorous, But I mean, I would also be aware of the gravity of the situation.
Yeah.
But I'm just saying. I mean, being in the medical field does desensitize you.
I'll tell you. I'll tell you a story.
I go on YouTube and I look up with the Crazy Leg compilation knockouts and shit. Like,
I'll tell you a story.
Oh yeah.
I'll tell you a
The
little
stinky legs.
I used to be a carer for my grandparents, and I got home one day, and my grandmother looks at me and says, "No, Granddad's just in on the floor." I said, "Well, what's he doing on the floor?" Fell out of bed. So I went in there, and he's just lying on the floor, like, "Oh, you all right?" Looking up at me. Eventually, I managed to help him climb up some pillows and back into bed, and we called an ambulance. It turned out he'd broken his hip. But it was pretty funny at the time.
He was just laying there, like nonchalant, not saying.
He'd been there for like an hour because my grandmother couldn't get him up.
Damn you Brits are stoic. Jeez.
They are.
I got back.
That is what I
There's nothing wrong with that. Don't you judge that, Badger.
Your grandmother saying Grandpa's just in on the floor. That is entirely my image of you people.
I got back. And my grandmother, she was just sitting in the living room.
Hey, look,
doing a
British humor is far superior to American. Don't judge that badger.
No, I love it. I think it's. I love.
I'm not talking about the humor at all. I'm talking about.
She was sitting in the living room doing a crossword, and I get in, and she says, "Oh, Granddad's just in on the floor."
That's priceless.
Isn't there like a Duke Wellington story where like they're at some battle and like his second in command was sitting next to him, and, like his leg got blown off, and he's like, "My God, I think my legs got blown off," and he's like, "I think you're right."
That's a Monty Python skit.
On Black Knight. Now I got the Monty Python Black Knight.
Oh, I was thinking of the skit in Meaning of Life when they're like, when the tiger bites his leg up.
It's the flesh wound.
A tiger in Africa.
Is it Meaning of Life also the one where death shows up and the pate killed everybody?
Yeah.
Yeah, Meaning of Life is my favorite.
Yeah, that's my favorite one too, and it gets better every time you watch it. Really.
All right, guys, I'm out of here. It's been a great time. Great meeting everybody that I hadn't streamed with
great
you.
to interact with you.
Are you off to argue with Fred?
So what? No, my wife cooked cinnamon rolls, and
Okay.
time spent with my wife and cinnamon rolls. Yeah, absolutely.
Understandable, sir. No
Come
problem.
on over.
I do like cinnamon rolls.
Thanks for coming.
Absolutely for having me. Y'all take it easy.
Yeah, you too.
Later, man.
Later.
Well, there was a British officer in World War II who was heard to say, "Don't duck. It doesn't do any good, and the men don't like it."
Yeah, that's fucking awesome. And like fucking bullets were just pinging all around him, and the fucking like a sergeant popped up out of a tank, and he's like, "Sir, they're shooting." He's like, "Yes, I know."
So
he's
they
like,
are.
and then, yeah, and he's just strolling like it was a Sunday morning stroll.
Sounds like Patton.
I think the internet is like the Brits' way to be naughty without being caught, almost like that's why Jack's like such an ass sometimes, because like he has to be all stoic and reserved in real life, so when he gets on the internet he just fucking lets loose. I think the internet is like a pressure valve for the Brits.
There are aspects of that depending on which sort of circles you move in British society generally. For example, I'm in a role play group where basically I turn up, and the conversation between me and a friend of mine generally goes something along the lines of, I walk in, he goes, "Prick." I look at him and go, "Cock."
Yeah, are you role playing as a badger? Is it like a furry thing?
You just described the interactions I have with my roommate.
This is Dungeons and Dragons, but yes, I am role playing as a badger.
Oh, by the way, talking about
but you just described my interactions with my roommate.
I
think he's watching the stream right now. Fuck you, dude.
You sent me a picture of a fucking a mole. It's a mole suit. I totally want to get it, dude. I think it'd be fucking hilarious. Like, just wear it and go over to one of my friend's house one day and just not say nothing, like act like everything's normal, wearing a mole suit. That'd be fucking awesome.
Dude, we have to make some tea before we do that, and we're doing that.
Well, I do have some like badger paws now, because I did one live action shot in one of my videos where I had a bit of leather on the floor and I was folding it to represent tectonic plate movements.
Dear God,
and someone just said to me, "More badger paws, please," in the comments. So that, okay.
We need to do another underground apostate hour or something.
Oh,
sometime.
yes.
For sure.
Actually, my live action badger paws did appear in a stream at some point, because I just turned the webcam on. I turned the webcam on. Turned the webcam on, holding a cup of tea in my badger paws.
I need to see that.
Right, hang on.
Give me like half an hour.
Get the badger paws out.
I think I'm.
I got 2 days off. The only thing I'm doing is making another YouTube video after this. I got all the time in the world.
I really need to get around to making another YouTube video, but I can't think of anything I want to make one on.
I've got 3 in the works.
You know, my motif. I'm doing Twitter stupidity. My God, there is so much of it. The
Yeah, I could do
problem
that.
isn't finding material; it's settling on like 5, 6 tweets to go at.
I did have an interesting conversation. Well, oh yeah, you, Mr. Crimson Fucker.
Yes.
That argument is still going on.
Oh my God, are you serious?
It's been going on for like a week now. I muted it, and then I saw that you'd retweeted something from it, so I unmuted it again, and I'm now inundated with notifications.
Oh no! Don't unmute it! Don't unmute it! No.
Too late.
The only interaction I have is Phoenix, the one that does the homeschooling. I went and followed that one, so I'll see some of her tweets in it, and I'll respond to those only. Oh my God, no! Don't unmute that thing. It's been going on for 2 months.
Let me see if I can do this. Where's my? How do I webcam?
That argument's never ending. The stupidity is permanent.
I have had, it's the weirdest thing because like I've been involved in conversations that went like
try that.
crazy.
How's that working for you?
Oh,
Badger pause. See?
yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, nice. I like them.
Yeah, but I've had like conversations that like were over, and then like 2 months later, somebody will like something or comment on something in there, and I go to look at it, and I'm like, what the hell is this all about? Like I had one guy, I can't remember his name, I can't remember his Twitter handle, but like I popped back in there, and he was like, "Oh, look, it's Duke, my favorite anti-theist," and he's like, why are you commenting on this thread that's 2 months old? And I was like, because it jumped up in my freaking mentions. I mean, I didn't even realize what it was until I clicked on it. You know, it's like,
you know what? I don't judge necro posting. I don't judge necro posting. If someone wants to bring that fucking 3-month-old thread back up, it's just when my notifications hit 500 plus. Badger, I'm so sorry.
Oh, is that what you called it? I thought when you said necro posting, I just thought like people posting.
Dead people.
Like, no, I'm gonna unfollow the shit out of you.
No, that's an entirely different fetish, and don't get me started.
That's a good name for it, though. So, like you're saying, necro posting is like bringing up a dead thread.
Yeah, resurrecting a 3-month-old.
That's a good name for it.
It's necro post. Do none of you go to Tumblr or Reddit? Am I the only one with Tumblrs and Reddits?
Yeah, I do.
I don't know, but it's been on other message boards I've used. So
I was just saying this yesterday that Reddit is the most used social media site, but I don't know anybody who uses it. So
use Reddit. Yes, you do.
Let's bask in the glory of this for a moment.
Yeah.
Find me on Twitter r/whooshing people all day.
I mean, I'm familiar with the jokes that come out of Reddit, and I know that if you want your meme to explode, it has to come from it has to happen on Reddit. But I've tried to get into Reddit, and it seems like a brick wall to me, man. Like,
the only Reddit thing that I've looked at is the only Reddit thing I've looked at is prequel memes.
Okay, this is where you need to go on Reddit for some hilarity. Go to Reddit. I kid you not. r/Tumblr. r/nice guy. r/nice girl. r/whoosh. Go there. You will have a good time.
And those are ones I'm familiar with because they get YouTube videos made.
Yeah, all the time.
That. Yeah.
Dude,
but I've tried to get into Reddit.
That's a lot to get into. How about like shoot that to us in the DM group?
I want to use Reddit to some effect. You know what I mean? Like,
oh no, you will not.
I might make Reddit just to go in prequel memes, just to post in prequel memes.
I made a Reddit when I first made Staggers and Jags, my persona, And I think I posted a couple things on there. I probably got kicked out of a couple subreddits for breaking the rules. I don't know, man.
Prequel memes?
I have, I kid you not, 15 different Reddit accounts. You need multiple accounts just to manage shit. Now,
is this what psychopaths do with their time?
Yeah, this is what this psychopath does. 10 of those accounts are simply lurker accounts. Are simply lurker accounts, because even lurking in a subreddit can get you banned depending on what it is.
Oh dear.
Reddit is a interesting beast.
There's so many rules. There's so many rules.
Shower thoughts. r/shower thoughts. Go there.
I follow a Tumblr that's like a shower thoughts thing.
Have you seen prequel memes?
Tumblr has shower thoughts as well. I have the prequel memes. Hit and miss. They are pretty good.
I follow the Twitter bot for prequel memes.
Now remember, Reddit is also the community that identified the Antifa dude who hit someone with a bike lock.
I thought that was.
They identified this. It was through Reddit. It was through Reddit. It came from Reddit to 4chan, and there's the 4chan quote unquote autistic bastards and the Reddit autistic
I watched the Internet Historians thing about that.
Reddit and 4chan, you will find some interesting shit if you can stand it.
I'm getting more emails from that evolution equals false guy.
What is he saying?
Still will not DM me. He still will not DM me.
He's trying to add me on.
Is that Fred?
He's trying to add me on Twitter, even though he's already messaging me on. He's asked me who I am on Twitter, even though he's already messaging me on Twitter. I'm guessing he's unsure because I haven't replied to him.
I'm still waiting for my message from him. I accepted his challenge early on. Me and Faithless both. He hasn't sent me shit.
I can email you his email address if you like. If you want to put your email address in.
I think you made him upset with the timing him out.
You know what, Badger? I will DM you an email address I'm willing to spend on this.
Yeah, I mean, I don't see why he called everybody a coward. Everybody was willing. Debating just isn't my thing, man. It's just I'm not.
Well, I sent him my cock mail, so he can arrange a debate if he likes.
Oh yeah, I'll send you my Gmail, Badger. I can burn my Gmail on this.
I have like several spare email addresses for such things.
Cool.
You will laugh your ass off when you get this email address, and you might even ask me what the hell it means. There you go. But
where am I looking?
He's gonna come in. He's got it. Yeah, I DM'd it on Twitter.
Oh,
he's got to come in. He's got a challenge. He's going to challenge us. He's going to demand we debate, and then we accept and say, "Hey, hit me up. Get my DM get my Twitter from someone in the chat." And as soon as that cycles through, and what's your Twitter? And 3 people in the chat give him my fucking Twitter. Where's my DM?
Dude, but that's just it. He didn't want to like come in here and challenge you to a debate somewhere else. He wanted to bust in on our conversation and challenge all of us to a debate. And it's like, suck it. Just suck it.
He was going to come in with presupposition arguments. And
I think
he has a script.
I think you'll enjoy my email address as well, but you may have to look in your spams to get it.
Yeah, I wasn't gonna let him. That wasn't my intention. When I asked Crimson last night if he wanted to stream this morning, I already had. It was just gonna be just that, a coffee stream, chill and talk about this silly ass website.
Well, I'm drinking.
That's all I wanted to do.
Yeah.
Well, he's fine. Your beverage of choice is of no consequence to me. So
that's right. I'll be starting on the whiskey shortly.
You're in a different time zone, aren't you?
I have gone through vodka. I am out of lemonade. I am on to gin. I will be on rum soon.
I'm just
5 minutes to 5 here. So anyone in the stream with me is entitled to drink whiskey.
I don't drink, sir, so someone will have to drink my share.
It's all right. I'll drink it for you.
Yeah, you should.
Badger, I will fight you for the right to drink most portions.
Oh, trust me, when I drink a lot. You guys can both drink for me. That's why I don't drink, because I don't know when to stop.
You gotta moderate your own self. You gotta do what's best for you.
I don't know how to do that. I don't understand the word moderation. When it comes to drugs and alcohol, there is no.
I will also do what's best for you and drink yours.
Thank you.
But I will do what's best for him and drink his.
Thank you.
I sent you the email, an email with my email address. Crimson.
Yeah, I'm looking for it. It hasn't hit my main box or spam yet.
It has Badger in the address.
Dude, I'm totally just scrolling through Instagram and following big beautiful woman accounts.
I have an Instagram, and I always forget that I have an Instagram.
Actually, I'm going to set up a Bad Tempered Badger.
The fuck is Instagram?
I'm trying to break through this Reddit wall right now.
Is that some young millennial thing I don't understand?
What was that, Instagram?
Page of the internet. That's a bit presumptuous, isn't it?
Yeah. You can't turn it. You can't get it to any other page. You can't do anything. I don't even know what I'm looking at. They changed it now, and I don't even know what the fuck I'm looking at.
How do I sign up for this?
I can create my own subreddit.
Log in.
That's the ticket.
No, not log in. I haven't made an account yet. Silly.
What is Instagram even for? What is it for?
What's what?
Instagram. What is it for? I mean, what do they do on
Instagram?
It's like it's just pictures. Yeah.
And Badger, I just noticed there was a typo in the email I sent you. I sent you a new address. One letter changed.
One letter change. Oh.
Yeah. Instagram is for pictures, and there seems to be an endless supply of curvy women on there. So.
Oh, I like curvy women.
Yeah.
You and me both, dude. I like the ladies that jiggle. I'm all about the Lane Bryant girls.
Is that a pressure of women to like them? I don't know anymore.
Right.
Is it okay for me to like curvy women?
No.
Yeah, I think it has more to do with
whatever the hell you
I think it has more to do with how you express it and where and when.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Well, I'm not a lech or anything.
Just be a gentleman.
I'm not a lech or anything like that.
I think
I don't think so. I'm never inappropriate with anybody that I know of. I don't think so. Anyway.
I don't believe so either. Anytime I have rules of engagement for when I'm talking with ladies, like especially like because I do the online dating thing a lot, and so like I put the onus for the conversation completely on them. Like I basically just say, however you approach the conversation, that's the boundaries for the conversation, right? So that way I'm not ever throwing anything out there. I avoid like endearment terms like the plague until I've gotten to know them better or at least met them in person.
Well, I mean, I have a bad habit of calling people hon and sweetie, but that's from working in the medical field.
Email is sent.
You know what I mean? But I
get you. I do that too. But like, it's just one of those things. Like for instance, it's kind of hard to get to know somebody through text. But you want to get to know each other a little better before you meet because you don't want to waste your time. Right. So I always do this thing where I'm like, just ask me 10 questions all at once. Any 10 questions, you go first. Your questions actually will set the tone for the conversation. So I won't push anything I ask you any further than what you've asked me. And that way it kind of, it sets the boundaries and it makes it easier to kind of have a conversation without being perceived as saying something that would be inappropriate or make somebody uncomfortable. You know what I mean?
Okay. I get what you're saying. I'm not even interested in dating. I just got out of a 5-year relationship. I'm not. Dating is not on my mind at the moment. I'm perfectly happy where I'm at. Perfectly happy. Being single is not that
Hawaii's
bad.
trending again. Why is Hawaii trending again?
I don't know. Why is Hawaii trending? Hawaii is awesome, and I'd like to go there. Expensive as fuck, though, isn't it?
Yes, that's what I've heard.
Well, it's an island.
Okay, I want to read a little bit more of this.
Imported.
I want to read a little bit more of this page, and let's talk about it.
Let's do it.
I thought I'd signed up for Reddit, but apparently I haven't.
Okay. Abandonment of atheism in atheistic communist countries. In addition to in atheist communist China, Christianity is experiencing explosive growth. On July 3rd, 2005, the New York Times concerning many countries in the former Soviet Union, a return to religion in Romania, in the region's other formerly communist countries, has in many places outrun the speed at which the church can screen and train clergy. I don't think that. I think there were always believers. They just weren't outright believers because
they've had state-sanctioned atheism in those places, and that's not okay. That's not right. You know what I mean? Like, it's going to cause this sort of thing to happen. You know what I mean? This is another factor pushing on the statistics.
Okay, everyone. Bad Tempered Badger is now on Reddit, and as my first act, I have subscribed to prequel memes.
Congratulations.
I think I've subscribed to a bunch of subreddits already. I don't even know how to find them right now.
That's one of their favorite straw mans of us, though, isn't it? The communist state-sanctioned atheism thing. They like to. It's like, and no matter how many times we say, like the majority of us will say, no, I don't support that in any way, form, or fashion. Like, it doesn't matter. Like, that exists out there somewhere. Hence, all of us are connected directly to it. You know, I remember early in the days when I first got on Twitter, I used to get into it with Ghost of Buckley a lot. And he liked to bring up, they used to like to bring up this group called there was a Russian group. It was the Anti-Theist, Anti-Theist Society or something like that. And it was a super violent group that was active in Russia. But they were active in Russia from 1927 to 1945 or something like that, right?
Okay.
So I brought up the pogroms, the Catholic anti-Semitic attitudes, and he was like, "Yeah, but that hasn't happened since the 40s." And I was like, "Yeah, but the group you brought up hasn't happened since the 40s." so if you can bring that up, I can bring up everything from that time period that you were doing too. Like, you can't. It's like. You're not even connected to that. You're bringing up a group that's entirely unconnected to the modern anti-theist people that I know, and the attitudes of them are entirely unconnected. But you have to draw this connection somehow, because you have to find some reason as to why we're evil and dangerous.
Right.
So you've got to connect us to something evil and dangerous. They do the same thing with homosexuals when they say, "Oh, well, it's it's the cause of pedophilia." It's demonstrabably not. We can show that it's not.
I don't get where they get that from. I mean, I mean that it's just they're trying to demonize something that's natural. It's unnatural to them. You know, they don't understand, so they try to demonize it and make it sound worse than it is.
Well, yeah, their holy text states that it's an abomination. They have to find a way to make it dangerous so that they can rail against it and oppress it. There's no way to make it dangerous unless you attach it to pedophilia, really. So they they have to do that. And then no matter how many times you point out, dude, there've been actual studies.
If anyone knows where I left my cover image, let me know.
Right.
No idea. It's probably behind that dildo.
And I don't understand why they rail against homosexuality so much. And it isn't, if it was so fucking important to God, it's not even mentioned that much in the Bible. What, it's like 2 or 3 places?
Yeah, but where it is mentioned, it's mentioned with some pretty severe, like a pretty high level of severity. You know what I mean?
But still,
that's also a good thing to bring up to the Christians too, because the Christians will say the Bible says that homosexuality is an abomination, and then you say, okay, then what does the next verse say? Tell me what the next verse says. The next verse says they should be killed. So say that to a Christian. If you're going to tell me homosexuality is an abomination, then tell me they should be killed, motherfucker.
Right, say the whole thing.
Yeah.
Yeah. Tell us what you really mean. And some of them will do that. Some of them will absolutely do that.
There's Steve Anderson. They're not afraid to say it at all, man. You know,
but most your Christians that you'll meet on the street, that'll make them stumble
Oh, yeah.
a little bit. You know what I mean?
I don't know what the next verse says.
Well, I have a Bible right
it's
here.
not like I actually.
do.
It's not like I actually have read the thing. I just had it said to me a bunch of times. I just sat and listened to somebody say it. So that's like that great. How do you say his name? Is it Armin Navabi? Armin Navabi, is that how you say it?
I think so.
Yeah, that's like a great thing when he was on. I think he was on the Heathen Hour podcast, and he talked about all the things that they would do with the Quran. They would put it on their head. They would kiss it. They would do all this stuff. And the one thing they never did was actually read it.
I remember. Yeah. The only thing we didn't do was read it.
That's beautiful. That's beautiful. It's just they do this because, right, if you look at just somebody just not believing in God, right, they're saying I don't believe in God. If you can't find a way to make that dangerous, like explicitly dangerous, then it's like, what's your argument against it other than, I mean, they can use their spiritual arguments, but that's not going to work as well as trying to find a way to connect it to something real world that actually happens, that causes oppression, and that causes problems, right? And
well, like religion.
Right. Well, but that's the thing. The funny thing about that is that in the same breath, they'll throw that at you, and in the same breath, be like, you can't treat all Christians like they're, Jerry Falwell. Right. You know what I mean? And you can't. That's true. You can't, but it's like that's exactly what you're doing to us.
Do you think Christians, if they had a chance, do you think that they would enact their own Sharia type law, like a theocracy, like go back to stoning fucking children to death if they fucking disobey their parents?
The fundamentalists would.
The fundamentalists would, but to a degree, I don't know that all of them would, but I think a lot of them would. I think that there's quite a bit of modern ethics still in with people that follow Christianity, and there's so many different sects. Like there are groups I think that would do that and would do it happily.
Look what the fundamentalists are doing over in Africa. You remember the Uganda kill all gays bill? That was pushed by American fundamentalist missionaries.
Wow.
Yeah.
I am not familiar with that. I was familiar with the Joseph Kony movement, but I'm not familiar with the thing you've just brought up.
It was 2013, 14 or whatever it went in, but international outrage got it from the death penalty to life in prison. But yeah, American evangelicals were pushing it. Well, I mean, yeah, but that's what they were pushing for it, and they're pushing for it all over Africa with their missionary stuff. So yeah, the fundamentalists would.
Certainly.
Who's swallowed the microphone, by the way?
I don't know. I don't believe I've eaten one lately.
Not a microphone.
No. I told you that I haven't done anything. I just got out of a 5-year relationship. I'm talking as celibate as they come, and I'm not a incel either.
I think it's kind of a weird path to go down because, like, would Christians create a theocracy if they could? I think a lot of them would, but I don't think that all of them would. I think they're, I think that they could. There's a lot that could easily justify and would like to, especially in America where they had the, this is a Christian country attitude and Christianity comes first, right? Like they're all for religious freedom until you bring up another religion. I used to have that conversation all the time with people, even when I was still a Christian, because as a Christian, I was still really believed in the separation of church and state. And people would say, well, I think we should have prayer in school again. And I would say, well, okay, well, what about if it was Allah? What if it was Islamic prayer?
Yeah, me and you were talking about that the other day, weren't we? Yeah. That would never fly.
Oh, they would hit the ceiling on me. They would be like, how could you even say that? You're a Christian. You know that that's not true. And yada, 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 yada. And it's like, well, yeah, but what if the majority of the kids there were Islamic? Wouldn't it be ridiculous to make them pray to a God they don't believe in? Or a religion they don't agree with? Like, but they just miss this. There's that, like, I've said it before, and I believe it's true, that I think that American Christians are like the most entitled group of people on the planet.
Yeah,
I've
what about
never
Middle
seen
Eastern
anything like it.
Muslims?
I did have
Muslims.
a related conversation on Twitter a little while ago where I was
Surprise.
talking to I was talking to a guy who's like a Christian guy who was putting all the usual things about evolution and such. So he was doing the apologetic sign of, trying to, you sure that your soul will be saved if you were to die tomorrow? And no, I don't think it would, because I don't believe that's the thing. But eventually, I got kind of fed up with trying to go back and forth with him, going, well, of course you believe. You just say you don't, so you can sin and all this business. So I decided to try and convert him to be a follower of Shea Gorath.
Shea Gorath?
The Daedric Prince of Madness from the Elder Scrolls series.
Yeah, he's one of my favorites.
Yeah, do any of you guys ever watch Living Waters videos, the Ray Comfort videos?
Remember what?
Do any of you ever watch the Living Waters videos where Ray Comfort goes around and like supposedly converts fucking atheists? Or
I think I've seen.
I saw one. Didn't we watch one together?
They are so disingenuous. Like he picks the most fucking like what they would like. They're not like us atheists. They're like people that are
just don't care.
Really know, you know?
Yeah, they don't
really know what
he walks up and says, "Do you believe in God?" And they go, "I don't know, not really."
Yeah,
and then they tricks them into saying something.
He picks de facto atheists.
Well,
who never think about it.
He also Frankenstein edits the crap out of all those interviews.
Oh yeah.
I mean, that's no.
Well, apparently, I have one
call
call
on that for
on
years.
Reddit now. I don't know what that means.
Mo, did we watch one of those videos and talk about it? Where we talked to the two gay guys?
I don't know. I don't remember. Maybe it's possible. I'm sure, but I don't remember at the moment.
And I went and watched it later, where he talks to these two gay guys, and they it's not Ray Comfort. It's another one of those people from the Living Waters thing, and it's in Britain.
Now that's my field of interest. What's that?
I'll see if I can find the video and shoot it to you better. Maybe I'm wrong. For some reason, I thought I remembered talking about that with somebody. And
haven't seen a prophet for a while.
Check out this one. Allegation that all religion is superstitious in genetic fallacy. A common ploy of atheists is to attempt to disqualify biblical writers on the spurious grounds that they were allegedly superstitious, and therefore their testimony is unreliable. Yet the irreligious population has significant problem with superstition. That is not why we don't spurn the writers because we think they were superstitious. We spurned them because we think it was a fucking lie. There was a story they made up.
And that's a
we don't even know the writers.
That's a tu quoque fallacy anyway, isn't it?
Yeah.
Like if I'm out here killing people and then I see you killing someone and I say, "Hey, you killed someone," you can't say, "No, I didn't," because you're killing people. Right. No, you did. You did kill someone. It doesn't matter how many people I killed. You killed someone.
They just go, "Yeah, well, I was copying you."
The thing, we don't know who the biblical writers were. They're all anonymous. Names were added later, and so we wouldn't say anything of that there. But it's I don't know where they're getting.
Well, also we oppose them because they're demonstrably ignorant on any number of things. Like it's.
There's a big question from the chat. How frequently do you get Pascal's wager in discussion?
All the time.
Generally,
more than I like.
This is something I generally get from people on the street that I talk to, or like my family members and stuff. People who haven't put that much thought or time into arguing about it tend to use it more, in my experience.
Yeah,
but that doesn't mean that somebody like SJ won't fucking use it though.
It's got to be one of the weakest arguments of all time. It's just so silly.
Well, they made it.
Dude, you've got to be kidding me. You've lost nothing if it turns out to not be true. You've devoted enormous amounts of resources and your time and your money and in any other kind of fashion.
Integrity. That's what it boils down to.
Not true. You could lose a lot because you could go to hell for believing in the wrong God, because your Pascal's wager isn't a dichotomy in real life. It's a fucking million dichotomy. You know
That's the one I
mean?
usually go to. I point to 15 other religions. So which one, which hell would you prefer to go to?
Right. Well, what did Sam Harris say? Sam Harris said that even if you just stick to the big three, everybody should expect to land in hell by pure statistics.
Yeah.
Because they believed in the wrong God. You know what I mean? Like it's such a silly argument. I just absolutely hate that. That and the golden rule argument is friggin'.
Well, what it boils down, Pascal's wager boils down to this for me. It's an integrity thing. I don't believe in God, so they're like, well, what do you have to lose? I have my integrity to lose. I have a belief, and I believe it strongly. So why would I compromise my integrity just for fucking the sake that might be true? There's no evidence.
Well, just think of all those pleasure units you're gonna get when you go to heaven.
Yeah, pleasure units.
God, modern day hysteria's thing was just ridiculous.
Who was it that said?
Like I wrote an article about the afterlife on my blog where it was like, first and foremost, like, what is even a heavenly existence? Like, how do you define that? Like, at what point, like, if you take away every single negative thing that ever happened, all the memories of negative things and all of that, how do I remain me? How do I, because I am a formation of everything that's ever happened to me.
Exactly.
Right. So in what way can you pass from this life into another life that is heavenly and it still isn't oblivion? Like it's, you know what I mean? Even if you oblivion, like, because you're not you are gone forever. So there's like, how do you and what would you do? Like what would be heavenly? I can't think of anything that I wouldn't eventually get somewhat fucking bored with doing it forever. Like I look at the idea, the concept of forever is terrifying to me. Like I love I couldn't masturbate forever. I mean, I can do it a lot, but not forever. I mean,
another good response to Pascal's wager is something like, sure, my life would be a lot better if I flew everywhere too with my giant wings. But you know what I mean? Like, what are they trying to tell me to do? To force myself to pretend I believe something that I don't really believe? You know what I mean?
Because that's not going to, what good is that going to do you? It's not like God's not going to realize you were faking it. It says it right there in the scriptures that some people are faking it and they're going to get thrown head first like a freaking lawn dart into the lake of fire. So like, what does it fucking help? Like, if you don't believe, you don't fucking believe, man. Like,
exactly. Like, convince me. Don't convince me that I'm going to be better off if I do believe. That's great.
Right, and the thing is, I mean, what a great deal. I get all my rewards once I'm dead. I don't get nothing while I'm alive. I'm supposed to devote my life to a fucking being that there's no evidence of. I'm supposed to. If I was an omnipotent being, why would I need fucking humans to worship me? Why would I need anybody to worship me? What would be the reason behind it?
Exactly.
Hey guys, for everybody that's in the Neil's usual suspects, I just posted that video I was talking about with Living Waters witnessing to the gay guys in that DM group.
But yeah, that's the thing that's always got me. Like, why would a omniscient being need worship?
Validation.
And you know what? That's
what does it mean? Validation? Does he have like confidence issues?
Well,
he just needs us to tell him.
And those ideas kind of evolved as the idea of God shrank. When our science got better and we had to put God in a smaller pocket, we had to give him omnipresence, omniscience, and omnipotence. But those qualities don't seem to appear in the Old Testament for God.
No,
he's staggeringly incompetent in some verses.
Yeah. He's just as
Yeah, he was more like the Greek gods. He was more human-like. You know, he
was a war god.
So having more people worship your god means you have more people on your side, and
he's kind of like the classic Greek ones. Oh no, I seem to have turned my penis into a fruit-bearing tree. Oh no, I seem to have made a bit of a mess. I better drown everyone.
Yeah.
I mean, yeah. I mean, think about it. If you're omniscient, why did you make so many fucking mistakes?
Yeah, that's well, right. But not only that, right? Let's say, and if I built a car from scratch, and I cranked it up, and the first fucking thing it did was fall completely apart all around me, I'm not going to be like, this fucking car's fault. Let it go apart.
Each one of these parts is a piece of shit. I'm going to throw each one of these bolts in the foundry.
It's not my fault. It's the car's fault. God damn it! Like, no, that's not how things work. It's like either
that to my blinds. It's my blinds' fault that they broke. It wasn't that I was pulling the string too hard.
Yes.
I mean, think about the commitment it takes to have faith in such a ridiculous fucking story. I mean, I just don't understand how they. I just don't get it how they can that'd be like believing in Santa Claus. Like it blows my fucking mind. It really does.
Wait. Santa Claus too?
No, I'm just saying.
Santa Claus is totally real, man.
Oh, okay, thank you. Good.
You're good, buddy. You're good. He's gonna come down your chimney in a few months. He's gonna leave you a whole box full of dildos.
No, but I mean, there's nothing in the Bible that shows me that God is fucking all knowing and all powerful. If he's all knowing and all powerful, then fucking why do you fuck up so much? Why are we?
He's omni. He is omni incompetent.
Yeah, that's
Cain.
about all the,
Cain, why is your brother's blood crying to me from the ground? Cain, where is your brother? Where's your brother, Cain? What did you do to your brother?
He's fine.
Yeah, it's like,
He's just off having a wank.
Well, then I better go smite him, I suppose.
I got to get out my smiting rod. That makes me think of Tim Minchin.
All right.
Have you guys seen that song? Was it Tim Minchin did the song 10-Foot Cock and a Few Hundred Virgins?
Yeah, I love that one. I love it.
Question for you people. Does anyone want me to send their Twitters to Mr. Boss?
No, thank you.
Mr.
No, I'm good. I'm good. I don't.
Did we decide that was Darth Dawkins?
I don't know, but he was his brother or something. But I want to know, this is my question, how the fuck does Helen O'Henzo keep getting Twitter accounts? That guy's like the herpes of Twitter.
You know what? I see this, and people keep tagging Jack and tagging Twitter support. What do you expect them to do?
I tagged Jack because, I thought that was what you're supposed to do. You're supposed to appeal to the highest authority in the land.
Okay, I mean, it's fine, but they can't stop him. They can't stop him. I mean,
I just block and report. I report him and block, and then go on about my day.
He has not bothered me since I started asking him to marry me.
Oh God, were you there? Were any of you guys involved that time when we all chased Classical Theist off of Twitter for a little while with guys making out pictures?
That was awesome.
I got accused of. Well, there was one person that came at me hard as hell, man. They're just like, "You're a sexual harasser. You blah 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 blah." And I was like, "Whatever, man. I know what you're talking about. It's just a couple of guys kissing. That's all."
If you call a Christian a bigot
preaching. So you go first, Mark.
I was going to say, it's odd how if you call a Christian a bigot for being homophobic or whatnot, their go-to is always you're a fag. Why am I'm gay because I think I'm gay. That makes me gay. Why is that their go-to? Why?
There's no telling. They don't have a decent argument. And they don't want to admit it.
Yeah. They just want to go faggot. Have you seen that video? There's some guy with like a beard and a funny hat, and he's preaching outside. I think he's outside a university, and he's there preaching about how the gays are evil. And these two guys walk up to him and go, "Hey, professor," and then just kiss in front of him.
No,
he spins around and he starts like waving his arms. He's like, "Stand back! I think I'm gonna vomit."
Have you seen? I haven't seen that, but like Michael Moore did a thing. I'm not a big fan of his, but he did a thing where he followed the Westboro Baptist Church around with a bus full of gay guys, and everywhere they were protested, the guys would get out and start kissing each other and doing stuff, and he actually got them to. He actually got them to like quit. They actually like packed up a couple times and left.
I mean, just the energy it takes to the amount of time they spend hating. Like, I mean, Westboro Baptist Church actually goes out with signs. They take time to go out and hate people. That's not commitment. Yeah, that is commitment.
And you know what? They even piss off right-wingers because they go and do that shit at funerals of veterans and soldiers.
Yeah, that's ridiculous. Ridiculous.
Dude, they retweeted me one time, and I thought I'd arrived. They retweeted me one time, and I thought I had arrived. I literally, I did something, they retweeted it, and I was like, whoa, what do I do? Do I engage, or do I just say no? And I decided not to really respond, but I was just like, it threw me for a second. I was like, holy crap. I've caught the attention of the boogeyman.
I unfortunately caught. Does anybody know who Wayne Levi Price is? He's a YouTube Christian guy. He does streams and he calls it Tribulation Saint. Well, I told you about the story how he stopped the fucking stream and had the whole stream pray for me, like 400 people.
Oh yeah.
But now he's like fucking like he followed me on Twitter. And he's like sending me messages like, "I had doubts too, brother. Just come be with us." And I'm like, oh my god, dude. I'm like, look, I respect you, like, because he's not one of them asshole preachers. You know? He seems like he seems genuine. So I mean, I don't think he's an asshole. So I'm not going to be an asshole to him. But I'm like, look, dude, I don't believe in God. I'm not gonna come to your side. I just want you to know that I respect you enough to say that at least you're not an asshole like some YouTube preachers are. You know. He seems like
what's his name?
Nice guy. Wayne Levi Price. He's a bit weird. Like he's like one of them. Like he's all about sin and fucking like. But Wayne Levi Price. Just look him up. You'll see what I mean. He's a little different.
Has anyone seen Adam Hovey?
Yeah, I don't think I have.
I've done like 1 or 2 response videos.
Is it Hovey? Hovey?
I think so. Yeah.
Okay. No,
I've done 1 or 2 response videos to him because the first one I replaced his face with Dexter from Attack of the Clones. You know, the 4-armed guy with the big mustache.
Yeah.
Because he said he didn't want people to use his image without his permission.
Oh yes, I think I do know who you're talking about. I remember that being a thing a while back.
A big argument with
Is it Godless Cranium?
Yeah, Godless Cranium. Yeah, big argument with Godless Cranium about it.
And Godless Cranium was like, it's fair usage. I can do what I want.
Yeah, I stopped doing responses to him because I just kind of thought, well, if he doesn't want anyone to notice him, then you can stay there. You know?
Right. Well, I don't understand how like Christians can like. I mean, people are going to respond. I mean, to your
yes.
When you put yourself out on a public forum, expect
I'd love it if
somebody
somebody
responded to it. You know what I mean?
Like, I'd love it if some big theist channel came and did a whole response video to me. That'd be great fun.
Right. I mean, like, I don't see nothing wrong with them making their own response videos. But like, I don't fucking. I've never went into a Christian chat or stream and fucking tried to fucking call out the whole fucking, like, bring it on, suckers, let me in there. I'll fucking debate you. Like, what is that gonna fucking prove? What is that gonna what is that
Fred
gonna
in the chat again, and he signed out again.
Oh, is he back? Wait a minute, is he back?
He's gone again now.
Okay. Yeah, but I do remember this. I do remember this Adam Hovey guy because he kind of looks like the camera dude from what was that movie where the porn stars with I
don't know, but I already can see the comparison that you're thinking.
Dirk Diggler. The character's name is Dirk Diggler, and it came out. Mark Wahlberg played in it.
Yeah, it was Boogie Nights.
Boogie Nights, that's it. The cameraman from Boogie Nights, the dude looks like that guy.
Oh yeah. No, to come on and say we're an echo chamber when we're arguing. First of all,
hey, Crimson Fucker, do you want me to send the guy? I can't speak. Do you want me to send the guy your Twitter?
It would be like me going into church and saying that they're in an echo chamber.
That's exactly what church is.
Well, no, not really. It's once a week. They go there to do their thing. That's what they want to do. That's what they can do.
Here's a little story halfway. I went back to the village I grew up in a little while ago, a few days ago.
No, that's what I'm saying.
There for something. Me and a friend of mine went into the church that I used to go to, and we walked in there. And I've told the story once or twice that the vicar used to accidentally whistle when he said S's, and it would echo throughout the church.
That's funny.
So I went in there, stood next to my friend, and go, "This is what I mean."
My junior high principal did that too.
Oh yeah, it looks like that Fred jumped in here to say something. And he got squashed by Doe-Eyed. She just got done reading my book, how to put them things on them. Oh, that's hilarious.
Yeah. I mean, that would be great.
Oh my god.
No problem.
That's funny.
Yeah, she squashed him. She timed him out for 300 seconds.
Yeah, that's enough of you. Goodbye.
Tell us we're in an echo chamber when we all fucking argue on Twitter all the time with people.
And we disagree constantly. Like we have like knockdown, drag out disagreements too sometimes, man. Like
and we also seek out Christians to argue with. Yeah. How is that being in an echo chamber?
I do seem to remember that I get this slight feeling that the Godless Iowan doesn't like me very much.
Oh.
Why do you say that?
No, it's just we argued about something on Twitter once. I think it's probably actually not that at all. He's probably just busy. But it's just that one time after that, he just sort of didn't answer something that I'd said, and I was kind of, oh. So I had this like feeling in my head for ages that I liked it.
Oh, I can't imagine. Matt's such a sweetheart.
Well, when I was in a stream with him a while after, and we were having a chat, and everything was fine. So I'm guessing it was just he was just busy and didn't see it. But there was sort of a moment after that where I was like, oh.
Are you going to answer that or what?
I don't want to talk to you, Fred. I'm going to tell you that. I don't want to talk to you, man. I just don't. If you want to find me on Twitter or something like that, that's cool. But I'm not going to like go out of my way right now to set up some kind of a meeting with you. I'm not really super impressed with the way you came in here. Like I don't give a fuck about you or what you think.
Right, and we're not. You make it sound like we haven't looked into the Bible. We haven't. I mean, that is what we do constantly. We're constantly dissecting religion and its beliefs. And if you don't like that, we're sorry. You can call it an echo chamber if you want, but that's what we're doing. We're tearing apart your little book, and that's all we're doing.
Yeah. Dude, we're having a good time, and you're a jerk, and we don't want to talk to you.
Yeah.
No, I've said to him in the Twitter messages. I said to him, let me tell you what I said to him. If you're organising a friendly chat, let me know. No troubles talking to people I disagree with, just not looking for shouting matches.
You guys don't have to time him out every time he says something.
Yeah,
he's getting squashed every time. It's hilarious.
He just asked if I wanted to talk to him.
Yeah.
I'm just fucking with him for the sake of fucking with him.
That's fine. Maybe he'll go. Maybe he'll realize that he's not welcome here and he'll leave.
Right. Well, I mean, yeah. Why not? He came in here and fucked with us for the sake of fucking with us. You know what I mean? He was like, "Oh, look, let's a group of atheists that are talking about stuff. Let me go in there and demand that they let me into their stream and talk to them." It's like, no, suck it.
Yeah, this isn't the atheist experience. We're not having a call-in show.
Yeah. Wrong channel, buddy.
Invitation only.
Oh,
jackass.
I would love to have.
If you find us in a hangout that says Christians versus atheists, let's get it on.
Right.
Come on in,
an Underground Apostates call-in show.
What we're looking at is the ridiculous claims that you say are fallacies. They're just things that you don't like us dissecting your little club. Your little fucking cannibal club.
Yeah, well, and that's interesting. Well, it's a thing I've run into a lot of times with theists is that they have to be able to control the narrative. They have to be able to control the conversation, and if they can't control the conversation, they start to fall apart a lot of times. And so that's one of the reasons why they have these boxes they want us to fit into, and these definitions that they want to apply to us, and they do all this straw manning, because the minute we step outside of that definition, their attacks start to lose.
It's like a keto. It's like they go to church and they learn a keto, and they're like, okay, if somebody comes at you like this, you know, and then they get out on the street and somebody throws the right cross and they fucking fall on the ground because they've never been punched in the face before.
Aikido is a legitimate martial art for very gentle people who don't like to touch anything.
I thought I was going to have to go on my I'm not disparaging any martial arts, but there are certain schools speech.
Nope.
It's a really interesting philosophical martial art, talking about the way of harmony, and maybe this person who's attacking you is just having a bad day and you can help them through it and everything like that. But it's it's not as great as like a defensive or offensive combat system,
like Krav Maga.
Well, Krav Maga is like a 2-week thing. It's not really a martial arts the way they learn it in the Israeli military. It's not like you go to the class each week and learn more and get a belt and stuff. They come and they teach them the principles of Krav Maga in like 2 weeks, and it's how to fight. Right. It's not a martial art.
It's a quick, intensive fighting course, isn't it?
But they have like schools here. There's a school in Charlotte that is like, it is more based on like actually teaching people over an extended period of time and honing your skills. And
a lot of those are actually pretty bullshit. There was
a Krav Maga school in the same hall at the same time as my ninjutsu club.
I've seen a video about like an actual like a MMA fighter, like a cage fighter. Like he caused an uproar in the East because he was fighting like kung fu masters and like taekwondo people, and he was
squashing them.
Shit. He was fucking knocking the shit out of them. and they didn't like that, because it showed that martial arts is more pretty than anything.
Fred's gone again.
Well, there's a difference between martial arts, self-defense, combat sports, and fighting. Those are all 4 separate things that overlap.
Right.
And you don't learn self-defense in a martial arts class. You don't learn how to fight in a martial arts class. You learn how to do that martial art. So some martial arts are easier to apply to the real world than others. For example, boxing, wrestling, Taekwondo, and Muay Thai are all fairly applicable. Maybe Taekwondo being the least of those 4, but you're still going to learn some pretty practical things in Taekwondo. But if you try to use strict Taekwondo in a street fight, you're going to get
your ass kicked.
You're going to get punched in the face. You're going to get tackled.
I used to do ninjutsu. And in the same hall at the same time, there was a kendo club and a Krav Maga club. They were teaching everything. Both of those are very loud, and ninjutsu is generally quite quiet. So we had at the other end of the hall, we had the Krav Maga guys, and one of their tactics was teaching people to shout angrily to intimidate people. So we'd be there trying to concentrate and practice the whatever maneuver we were doing that day. And from the other end of the hall, we'd hear the Krav Maga guys going, "Now back off and stay there! I'll hurt you!"
That's not my purse. That's my purse. I don't know you.
In between that, we'd have the kendo guys going up and down the hall going, "Men, men, men."
You know the sword thing?
Yeah.
Okay.
Well, I think you make a good point, though, Stags, in the sense that, like, if you're going to take a martial arts, it's super important to get into the physical contact side of it, to actually get out and spar and actually get out and, like, really get hit and hit, like, because you're absolutely that's 100% on point. I remember growing up, I knew kids with black belts, and like one of them tried to do something to me, and I just grabbed him by the throat and choked him and slammed him on the desk. He had no idea what to do with that.
Yeah, they didn't teach him that.
So
that's the issue with martial arts. You're learning an art form. You're like a kata. You're learning a certain set of movements that you do subconsciously. Mm-hmm. And you'll get your ass kicked every single time if you go into those movements without thinking. Right. I did multiple times. I was also the combatives instructor for my unit for a few months, and there's a massive difference between martial arts and actually fighting.
Right. Say,
well, that was Bruce Lee's principle, right?
If you go into the movements without thinking, they might work in that situation if someone happens to attack you in a way that the movement you're trained in works against. But
most
and learning a martial arts category form is not the same thing at all.
Right. And most martial arts will teach you to fight against people that are using that martial art. If I'm using Taekwondo to fight somebody that's using Taekwondo, then I'm fine. They're not going to try to tackle me because that's not part of Taekwondo.
Right.
But if I'm in a street fight, I'm going to get tackled. My head's going to get cracked on the ground. I'm going to get grounded, pounded, unless I know some wrestling.
Right. Well, I mean, that was what I was going to say. It's one of the principles of with Bruce Lee, where he was like, he didn't do kata. Like once he learned the moves, he just practiced the moves that were relevant to attack with, and got faster and stronger at them. Yeah. Like it was not even a point of trying to practice katas all the time. He figured out what worked and he went with it.
I denigrate Bruce Lee as a fighter on a regular basis. I think Mike Tyson would have beat the living crap out of Bruce Lee, no questions asked. No chance for Bruce Lee to win that fight against Mike Tyson at all.
You're talking about a heavyweight boxer going up against small guy like that.
Well, that's precisely what happened. That's precisely what happened to Bruce Lee when he went up against Gene LaBelle. Like when Bruce Lee went up against Gene LaBelle tossed him around like a rag doll with judo.
That's the judo guy, right?
Yeah, and everybody goes, Bruce Lee was a Wing Chun master. Bruce Lee was a Wing Chun master. Bruce Lee ditched Wing Chun when he got to America, and he saw boxers and wrestlers. He went, that's it. That's what you need right there, boxing and wrestling.
That's the judo guy with the pink key, isn't it?
Yeah, he's a bad dude. He's the guy that choked out Steven Seagal that time.
Made him shit his pants.
Yeah. He said, you heard like I think Joe Rogan told the story, but he said that Stevens was bragging about he had some move that would get him out of any chokehold. And so Gene LaBella said, "Okay, Steven, let's do it." he said, so I got him in the chokehold, and he was trying to smash me into grapes with his fist. So I just choked him out, and he kind of lost control of himself a little bit.
That's the
Might
thing,
have pooped on himself some.
And I teach my kids this too. Like my daughter was surrounded by 4 boys in school the other day, and I said, and she kicked one of them in the ankle, and she's in Taekwondo, and I said, "What did you kick him in the ankle for? What did you hope to accomplish by kicking him in the ankle? Kick him in the ball sack." But if somebody's got you in a chokehold, an eye gouge or a ball attack is not going to stop you from. It's going to get you killed. Is what it's going to do.
Here's the thing that my ninjutsu instructor used to say, or one of them. He said, "This analogy does kind of assume that your opponent is male." He says, "You have 2 sets of balls in your body, and you can't defend both of them at the same time."
Right. But if somebody's got you in a chokehold and you stick their thumb in their eye, they're gonna kill you, and then they're gonna go, "Ow, that hurt."
Yeah.
Yeah, but if you're standing up facing off with somebody and you poke them in the eye, that's a good move. That's a really
great move
from standing position.
It might get them off you if you surprise them enough to loosen their grip and for you to get out. But I wouldn't rely on it.
Yeah, I try to roll out, try to not get in a chokehold in the first place.
That's ideal.
Run foo is really good. Run foo is the best.
I used to do parkour, so I'm with you.
Yeah.
The
best fighting move is to run away. If somebody pulls a knife on you, fuck's sake, run. Jesus Christ.
Yeah.
Run.
I used to get clowned a little bit, but I used to say I got a guy I worked with. He was a really good friend. He still is a good friend of mine, but he's like 6'3", like a 100% Nordic descent. You know, he's just this huge 360-pound massive guy. He was a power lifter in high school. He was a wrestler, you know, and so like I stand absolutely no chance of winning in any kind of physical altercation with this man. Like if he hits me, I'm done. If he gets his hands on me, I'm done. Like no matter what I do, there's nothing I could do with this guy, right? So he was jacking with me one day, kind of joking with me. And I told him, you know, he was like, I'm gonna have to hurt you. And I was like, dude, your ankles and knees are shot. You couldn't catch me. And so later on down the road, he was like, well, I already know you're scared of me. And I said, you got it mixed up, dude. I'm just not stupid. Like if I had to deal with you, I'd just hit you with my truck and see if you could win a fist fight with my bumper, you know, like,
yeah.
Like I'm not opposed to like admitting that like, if Brock Lesnar decided he was going to attack me, I would run like a motherfucker, man.
There's no point fighting someone who's like 3 times your weight and a trained martial artist on even footing.
Right. Yeah. There's no point in fighting. There's no point in fighting anybody on even footing.
That's why
if you're in a street fight,
classes in competition.
Yeah, if you want to win a street fight, the best 2 things you can do are bring a weapon and bring your friends.
Yeah.
Those are the best ways to win a street fight.
I favor the weapon. I never leave the house without a blade. Ever since I was 11 years old.
I have one I carry. I have a little Clyde knife I carry that's pretty cool. But I mean, I found that if I just don't bother people for the most part, I don't really ever get into those situations very often.
I've never been in a situation where I have in my adult life, I've never been in a situation where I've actually needed to physically fight someone. I've been in a situation where I thought I might, and I left.
Best move.
I got in a situation a few years back where I didn't have a choice in the matter, and I attempted multiple times to de-escalate and get the fuck up out of there, but wasn't given the alternatives or the choice and had to go through with it. And after a lengthy fuck you with the police, they finally said, okay, it was self-defense, you're good to go. But sometimes you can't get out of those situations, and I tried like a motherfucker to get out of those situations.
That's my metric. Like, so if I look at the situation, like here's how I judge it. How I judge it is if I will leave any situation that's going to end in violence, I will leave it if you let me, right? Unless it's like, I don't know, there's always some caveat, but for the most part, if somebody wants to be violent and they let me leave, I will, right? But if you decide you're not allowed to leave and we're doing this anyways, to me, everything that happens to that person from that point forward is on them.
That's a very good point, Mr. Duke, and I respect your opinion. However, could I just ask everyone to just be silent for a moment?
I was just going to say the same thing.
I'm sleeping. I think someone's snoozing.
I don't know who
That's Crimson. He's passed out again.
I can't laugh too much. I fell asleep on a stream before, so I'm not going to give him too much shit.
I've done it.
But I've never done it in the morning, though. But he works 13 hours.
I had a really long day, and I think it was one of your streams, Mr. Mel, and I was sitting here. I put my head down on my laptop, and then like 10 minutes later, I went, okay, I'm going to bed. Good night, everyone.
That's fine. We're that boring, Crimson. Jeez. Actually, I've had a lot of fun today. Actually,
that's just
well. You know what? As much as we were bitching about Fred, he added a level of hilarity and fun to this conversation. That was really I had a good time just talking shit.
I was wondering why Crimson wasn't answering my my Twitter message about if he wanted me to send the guy his Twitter.
You know, if the guy comes in the right time, in the right place, the right attitude, I'd be more than happy to talk to him. But when
I'll have a chat with him. I've said to him on Twitter.
Yeah, he was really hostile. I mean, really hostile.
I'll have a chat with you as long as we're having a chat.
Every chat's going to be like that with him.
I have never, ever went onto a Christian stream and fucking acted like an ass like that. That's just, I mean, I don't know. I guess that, what does that say about atheists? We have a little more class than they do, I guess.
I wish I could remember what we were talking about that time. I think, like I said earlier, it was me and Mole, Stags. I think Red was there too. I'm not dead sure, but the guy came into the chat and was demanding to come in and talk to us, to a point where I think we almost let him in. Like he almost.
There was Darth Dawkins, and we did let him in.
Darth Dawkins.
Oh, that wouldn't have been.
Yeah.
I wouldn't have been on that one. I haven't talked to him in person, but I see enough of them going around. Darth Dawkins.
Oh, no, this wasn't. He didn't come in this time. Like unless like I jumped out and he came in afterwards. But I think I think I stayed on the stream till after the live part of it was shut down, and we continued to talk for a while. And I don't remember. It might have been on the. It might have been just the three of us. We were talking about the recovery on that stream we did about drug recovery.
Yeah.
It might have been on that stream. I can't remember. There was somebody. We got off on something else, and the guy kept like. I don't know if it was like arguing against evolution or for young Earth creation, but it was something weird. And we were like, "Fuck it, come on in." And then he just stopped answering us. I can't remember.
Talk about recovery. I met a really a lady named Lisa followed me on Twitter the other day, and I think her name is Secular Sobriety. And I told her I would love to talk to her sometime about about recovery if she'd like to talk to me about like our experiences with the AA and the struggles staying clean, stuff like that. So if any of my fellow addict friends would like to join, you're more than welcome to. I like to do an addict stream every now and then, to raise awareness about it.
About what was that, sir?
I was just saying that I like to do like a drug addiction recovery stream.
Oh, drug addiction, yeah. I missed just that part of the sentence. I was sitting there going, I hope he restates what he's talking about, because I've got no idea what he's saying.
Yeah, I'm a recovered heroin addict, and I like to, I just like to, try to encourage people if possible, or
wake up Crimson with gunfire.
Yeah.
I live out in the middle of nowhere. And apparently some guys are trying to bag a deer or something a little ways over.
There's gunshots, fuck people snoring. Man, what's happening in the stream?
This is a great stream.
sounds like they got it.
All we're missing is the drugs and the alcohol.
All right.
I
think that's what happened to Clemson. Yeah,
dude, I've been flying high this whole time. I don't know about you guys.
Fucking pipe right here.
I put the episode 1 of the Underground Apostates on my channel as well. I put the first half with just us talking, and then I put a link to the original stream, timed in time for the second half where we had everyone else come in.
Okay, cool.
Does that work for you?
I don't mind.
Can I say something? I want to point something out. There are 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 of us in this hangout, and I have not once felt like I wasn't getting to say what I was trying to. I mean, sometimes you have to wait till somebody else is done. We've done pretty good at all not talking over each other.
Oh
Yeah. Other than a couple of times when everybody was talking at once, but that's just gonna happen. You can see each other kind of, but it's not like sitting around like a table where everybody can read each other's body language, and you can kind of see somebody when they're getting ready to jump in and say something, and you know what I mean. It's been really good.
I also want to. I won't name any names, but there are a couple people who aren't here, and that might have something to do with it. I'm not going to say who.
Little addition to that is there's also, I think, a half-second delay for me specifically because of England, motherfucker.
I don't know, dude. Usually it's my fault.
I thought the UK was supposed to have like the best internet service in the world. I seriously heard that somewhere. I don't know if it's true.
No, that's not.
No.
It's not too bad.
Maybe
it works okay.
If you're in a big city with a large node, you get great internet. But if not, if you're in a little village or something, you're screwed.
Maybe Buckingham Palace
doesn't internet. The high-speed fiber optic doesn't quite come out to the middle of the woods.
We call it a forest.
That's just not a forest, the woods, whatever. Oh, did I tell you guys that I'm trying to make a fucking longbow?
Yeah,
I'm gonna try to make my own longbow. I got the lumber yesterday.
Fucking longbow, but how about you shooting longbow?
Yeah, I got the lumber yesterday, so I'm gonna start working on it probably tomorrow, maybe.
Are you making it out of?
That they said that if you're gonna use store-bought wood, your best choices were to try either red oak or maple. And I couldn't find any maple, so I got some red oak. And they said don't get discouraged if like one of them breaks on you, because it's not. I mean, it's an art form. You gotta learn it, But I think it would be cool to make my own bow. How fucking cool would that be,
I'd like to do that. Yeah, I made like a shit one out of a stick years ago, but I'd like to make it a more.
I doubt I'm gonna be able to pierce armor with it, but it'd be cool for target shooting or whatever. Just to say I made a bow. I mean, I think that'd be pretty cool. But hey, Brian.
I make chess sets out of wood.
Do you? I enjoy woodworking. I always have.
So do I. In fact, recently I'm retraining, hopefully, to be a professional carpenter.
Oh, cool. I enjoy metalwork too, but I enjoy woodworking more. I think I do like. I mean, like I've made stuff with milling machines and lathes, stuff like that. But
my previous career path didn't work out at all, so I'm hoping to do carpentry now.
No, well, I mean, if the carpentry thing fails, you can be a prophet.
Well, I certainly know the terminology.
Hi, John. Well, Brain, I'm not. It isn't about just owning a bow. It's about making one. If I wanted to go out and buy one, I'd go out and buy one. That's not what I want. The experience of making my own bow.
Yeah, I know how that is. I'm like, I picked up my latest weird hobby is bookbinding.
Oh yeah.
Oh yeah.
That's cool.
I enjoy weird. I'm a weird guy. I'm a nerd, dude. I'm a fucking total nerd. Like, I would love to stream and talk about like medieval history sometime,
I'm currently
Vikings or something like that. I don't care. I'm a nerd, dude.
I'm currently making a suit of Mandalorian armor.
I actually
yes
considered
You're roboting really bad, bro.
Taking the count 4. Roger.
Something like that to make like journals.
All I heard out of that entire thing was like journals.
Journals. Yeah, that's all I
You
heard.
say that again. You went a bit.
You went a little 56K on us.
Thought Skynet was taking over.
He was.
Oh, I didn't.
I thought you were dialing up to the internet.
Like getting a fucking
Dude,
fax.
go
or
again
something.
with your journals because we didn't get it.
About
Now, I mean,
finding,
if-
right?
Yeah.
I mean, if I find I'm good at doing it, I mean, I might try to, like, get a more expensive stave and make like a bow out of you or something. I mean, but I mean, for now, I just want to see if I can even do it. That's I mean, I want to see if I can do it.
I tell you right now, I'm not letting you make a bow out of me.
Are you using a lathe, or are you doing it all by hand, or
Hand tools. I'm just the only tools I really need is like a rasp, maybe a plane, file, and maybe a handsaw to cut down a little bit. But other than that, I mean, I can just all hand tools.
Dude, you need to go out
Give
with
me a draw
nothing.
knife.
You need to walk out into the woods with nothing, okay, and find some rocks and make yourself an axe out of flint. And
I would die.
You need to carve the tree.
I'd be a horrible
axe.
fucking hunter.
Well, a friend of mine just messaged me to tell me that the single player in Star Wars Jedi Outcast is better than the sequel Jedi Academy.
Oh.
So
No idea.
I was going to mention this earlier, but I forgot. Did anybody watch the entire series of Castlevania on Netflix? Season
No.
2's on
I don't
video.
know.
It's excellent, dude. It's really good. I mean, it's like they did a really good job of keeping the game in the series. It's pretty cool.
What's everybody's favorite installment in the games? Mine is 2. My favorite Castlevania game of all time is Castlevania 2.
You need to refresh, Duke. You need to refresh.
Yeah.
Leave the count 4.
I don't know. Maybe old school Castlevania actually is probably still my favorite. Like the original Nintendo.
My favorite Castlevania is Milon's Secret Castle.
Oh, cool. What's everybody's favorite Resident Evil?
Galaga.
Yeah.
Mine's 4, Resident Evil 4. I love that game. I don't know why.
I'm assuming you mean the games.
Yeah.
I don't think I've actually played any of them. I've just seen them.
Oh, really?
Miss Pac-Man. Hands
I've never
down.
played them.
Oh, I got a great deal. I got an old school Super Nintendo with 10 games for
Oh,
like
a friend of mine.
$30.
A friend of mine's got one of those recently. Go on.
For $30, and the games I got are like I got Zelda, Super Mario World, Super Mario All Stars, Tetris and Dr. Mario, Donkey Kong, Super Punch Out. So I mean, all the games are like. I mean, like that. You couldn't ask for a better selection of games. I mean, for old school.
I was around a friend's house a little while ago. He got out his Super Nintendo, and we were playing Super Swiv.
Yeah. Sometimes I just like busting out the old games, man.
I had like an aneurysm. I couldn't handle it. It was too quick.
It's like, like playing old Nintendo games with only 2 buttons. You're like, what the fuck? This is weird.
Yeah.
A and B. That's it.
I still got my old systems, the NES, SNES, and stuff. Sit down
Now
and
it's
sort.
like depending on the game you're playing. I mean, all the controllers have evolved to the same. What's it called? Or to convergent evolution. All the controllers have experienced convergent evolution at this point. They've come to the same design, more or less. And sometimes you gotta hold one button to change the function of the other buttons still to get all the functions in the game. To get more functions out of the controller.
Can I just take a moment to thank Crimson for being such a great moderator?
Crimson takes his job seriously.
But yeah, the controllers. I've never been a fan of controllers. I'm a mouse and keyboard guy.
He's not listening. He's not sleeping. He's listening intently.
Yeah. Yeah, you can tell by his face. Like.
What was that god awful controller that had all the excess buttons on it way back when? Was that
the Nintendo 64? Or the
well,
GameCube?
no, not that one. Earlier than that.
GameCube was a
Jaguar
weird controller.
The entire Jaguar.
Probably the Jaguar, something like that.
Fucking blast from the past. You guys remember Dreamcast? Sega Dreamcast?
Yeah.
I'm surprised that didn't take off. I think it would have been a good platform with PlayStation.
Corporate sabotage will do that to you.
Yeah,
I went around to a friend of mine's house.
They're a bit early trying to do the online gaming.
Yeah,
I don't know how they expected to do that.
They failed at that.
I played the
play on the Dreamcast.
Saturn. The Sega Saturn was supposed to be able to get on the internet too, and it couldn't really.
Yeah, they were. I think. I mean, their thought pattern was ahead of their time, but they just didn't have the technology to back it up.
The Sega was always ahead of Nintendo as far as technology.
Yeah.
But the Nintendo kind of just pulled some shady shit and got all the game deals to the Saturn. There weren't that many games to play. It was a phenomenal system. It was an amazing system.
And to think that Nintendo started out as like a playing card company in like 1898 or some shit.
Wow. I didn't know that.
Steampunk.
Isn't it like such? I thought I read somewhere that like Nintendo has so much capital at this point that they could lose X number of years and still be okay.
Probably because of Pokemon.
Yeah,
I wouldn't doubt that in the least bit.
They're fucking huge, you know.
Pokemon is the greatest selling franchise of all time.
And you noticed
play the crap on Sega Saturn. Is it not Saturn? The Dreamcast, whichever the close to the last one they came out with. We used to play House of the Dead on that. It was a lot of fun.
I mean, Nintendo won't even license any of its games to any other. Like you'll find the same game on an Xbox, PlayStation, whatever, but you'll never find a Nintendo game on another platform ever, never ever. You know. So I mean, they're you know, I don't know, they're just seclusionists, I guess.
Nintendo are racist.
Well, and they kind of decided to go a different way with their.
Yeah, they did.
Yeah, they're a lot more kid oriented.
Yeah, it's fun. They're fun.
Well,
they're a lot of fun. Their games are a lot of fun.
They are. Yeah, they're more.
There's one on
family friendly.
Yeah, there's one called WarioWare. I think it's what it's called. That's on the what's the one with the where you wave the controller around?
The Wii.
The Wii. Yeah, it's on the Wii. That game is so much freaking fun. It's like the greatest party game of all time. That's not Cards Against Humanity. Because Cards Against Humanity is the greatest thing ever invented, I'm pretty sure.
Have you ever played Exploding Kittens?
Nope.
Can't say that I have.
You need to play that one.
Probably so. I know that when I was playing Cards Against Humanity one time, the white card was "What's that smell?" and my answer was hospice care. Like you can just say the most awful things, but you can be like, "It's not my fault. I didn't write the card. I didn't do nothing.
I didn't do nothing." Guys, well,
That's great.
For quite a while, so I think I'm gonna wrap it up. I got some stuff I gotta do, and then I'm gonna be on the Beelzebub's channel at 3 Central. He's interviewing me, so I want to thank you guys all for coming and in tolerating our antics, and of course I want to thank the panel. Of course, you guys know you're always welcome. You guys are like just part of the crew, so. But you guys all have a wonderful day. I'm out.